And we'd like to make you feel very, very welcome to a 53-lap Grand Prix this afternoon. Here in commentary this afternoon with me is the inimitable Dave Paling. How are you today, Dave?
Oh, I'm fantastic. Thank you very much, Mr. O'Reilly. Looking forward to this one. Just want to give a quick shout out as well. Our broadcaster today, Steve Harris. Okay, his name's Sergi Harris, but I get his name wrong so often I've decided to go with the full-on English version. I'm going to call him Steve Harris from now on. So Sergi is on the cameras for us today, so good luck to him. And a few of the viewers may notice that our usual broadcaster, Felix van Delft, is going to be racing today.
Well, Felix did very well in the Ace race yesterday. I think he was second place in the end, or it might have been third.
Second place, I believe it was. Yeah, he did very, very well. Very unlucky on occasion, but yeah, he did very well. But I believe you got some potential track info for us, Dave.
Well, indeed. I think we can't come to Monza in Italy without just recognising how unique this track is. And just as a little bit of a vignette about it, I mean, last race was Hungary. That race took 1 hour and 36 minutes. The race here last year took 1 hour and 16 minutes. And the real life Grand Prix this season in Formula One was 1 hour and 15. So in terms of time, this is the shortest race of the season. They're all the same distance bar Monaco. But due to the incredibly high average speeds, this track produces time-wise the shortest time required to cover 306 kilometres. The track's unchanged since 2000 at 5.79 kilometres. And it's a really interesting and intriguing track to start for the teams to set their cars up for, because first thing they're going to do is take off all the wing. But once you've taken off most of the wing, you start to really, really notice minor changes in suspension. And of course, braking and drivetrain are massively important here, because you're pulling the car up from 350 kilometers per hour for the first variante. Then you've got to get massive drive out of that corner as you head up towards the second variante or the second chicane. So two big stops from high speed and then accelerating back up to speed again. So the longitudinal performance of the car really gets put under the microscope. And so it's quite a different environment for the teams to test in. Big differences to the sorts of setups that the teams would have been using in, say, for example, Hungary.
Just a little bit different, yeah. I mean, Hungary is a beast all on its own, but then so is Monza. It's a phenomenal. Well, I think it's a phenomenal racetrack. I mean, on paper, when you look at it, you go, okay, there's only 11 corners. That doesn't look that difficult.
Yeah, how hard can it be?
Yeah, how hard can it be? Yeah, but there's a reason why this track is both loved and feared.
Well, indeed, you're bearing down to the first chicane at 350. You've got to pull the car kilometres per hour. You've got to get the car pulled up and navigate your way through a very, very tight chicane. And the second chicane feels about the same. So you're approaching these really slow, tight chicanes from massively high speed. And it really it sort of puts you on edge. It's a hard track to find a rhythm, because unlike, say, a Hungary or even a Spa, where the track has a certain rhythm to it, you're exiting a corner, setting up for another corner. Here at Monza, you're flat out along these massive straights. Sometimes you're defending from an attack or trying to attack somebody using a little bit of a toe. But then you've got to be pin perfect with the braking points, and it is really a fine art. I mean, you're talking a couple of hundredths of a second too late on the brakes, and you are going to be in all sorts of bother into the chicane. So it's a very fine art getting the car pulled up and getting it through these slow sections.
That it is. I think I've just had a quick game crash there, unfortunately. Okay. I'm just going to try and jump back in. As I believe qualifying is about to get underway.
Yeah, we've got a few drivers heading out of the pits now on their out lap. Nobody has yet to start a hot lap. So I'm just looking at a few people. Dilias Andro Simincic is out there. Risto Caput is out there. So it's going to be a hotly contested quali session. This track, for all of its high speed, it is not an easy track to pass on, because the car in front is going to be going flat out as well. The draft or the slipstream effect is fairly strong at these high speeds, but it's a funny old thing. You get a bit of a draft, you tuck up under somebody's gearbox, and then by the time you pull out into the breeze to make the pass, you sort of hit this brick wall of wind resistance. It just takes the edge off your speed. So, but most of the attacks will come into turn one, but it's hard enough to get turn one navigated anyway.
It is. I mean, you were talking a little bit about setup as well. I mean, obviously it is a low aerodynamic setup, the lowest we'll probably see all season by far. But one of the things that drivers need to make sure they've taken into account is they do need a long enough 7th gear to be able to pass when slipstreaming. But they also need a long enough gear to be able to pass a car that is slipstreaming a car. So if you're topping out at 354, 355 kilometers an hour, you're not going to be able to pass anyone. And if the car ahead has got slipstream, there's a chance that they're going to pull away as well. Okay, people are starting flying laps at the moment.
Yes, Simicic is on a flying lap. He's approaching the second Variante. He had a good entry and exit into the Premier Variante, the first chicane. It's looking like a tidy lap, a bit of a banker. The rubber, of course, the track will rubber in throughout this quali session. And Journey is on top of things here, hitting his apexes through the Lesmo. Tidy exit on the as he exits the second Lesmo, and full power 7th gear as he comes up to the Ascari curve, hitting 341 kph, and he's down to 160 for the entry into the Ascari. And the car seems pretty planted on exit. He was on full noise well before the final apex. And as he approaches now the Parabolica, which is a 3rd gear corner on entry, but it quickly opens out, as the name would imply, a parabolic radius. And Journey crosses the line to do a 1:21.941, which is a good opening effort. 6 of the drivers got into the 1:21s during the warm-up session.
Just wanted to quickly, Dave. Martin Gosby's gone purple sector 2. He's coming up to the parabolic, and now Michi Hoyer also abandoned his first flying lap straight after the first chicane. But Martin Gosby heading up to the start-finish line now, while Daniel Kiss is purple sector 1. Gosby goes second. But yeah, Daniel Kiss has gone purple sector 1 with a 27.3. That is quick in sector 1.
That is very, very quick. Kiss has done a 27.3 in Sector 1 as well. A little bit off the pace in Sector 2, but we can probably expect a fast Sector 3. It's probably meaning he's got quite low wing.
Well, I think that Musto, as Daniel Kiss loses it, got the rear wheel on the AstroTurf there, and that's pretty much his lap done. He'd be better off parking that before he crosses the line, but he has crossed the line. But yeah, I was going to say that I think Musto have realised that here in Monza, they've got to do something a little bit extra special with their wings potentially, because in Hungary, Journey's pace in Hungary and Spa was absolutely phenomenal.
Well, indeed, I think in the interview after Hungary, Mohammed Patel sort of said it out loud that they think Journey's found something in the setup, and he's absolutely on fire. He's won the last 2 on the trot, and you've got to look back to Magny Cours, to the round in France, to see Mo Patel's last win. So Journey's on a charge. He's only 50 points behind, but there's 125 points left on the table. So if Journey can pull off a win here and put a driver or 2 between himself and Patel, that'll have a massive impact.
Musto and Twister look like they're doing a bit of slipstreaming like we saw in Spa as well. Mohammed Patel's got a nice little draft. He's a bit slow in Sector 2 though. Sector 1 was a 27.4. I mean, you are right with what you said there, Dave, but I mean, Journey has been quick, but I can confirm that it's not necessarily that he's found anything in the setup. He is just absolutely nailing things right now. If you gave him a hammer, he'd put up a shelf in seconds. Mohammed Patel crosses the line, goes second place. Nice lap from him. But yeah, so, I mean, Journey has definitely evolved and improved over the last few rounds, like you say, since Magny Cours.
So 2 drivers now down into the 1:21s, and we'll be expecting a little bit more from some others. Gosby looking like he's on an outlap at the moment. Just flicking through people here now. People are...
Michi Hoyer is on another... Well, he's on what's going to be his first time lap coming through the parabolic, and now Personal best sectors for himself, but neither of them are purple at the moment, but it could be a decent lap time overall. Goes 6th. He did have the second fastest lap time in practice, so I would expect him to try and improve on that one.
Yeah, John Eric Saxon, about a 10th off the pole sitter in Sector 1 and about a 10th off the pole sitter Sector 2. But putting together looks going to be like a solid top 10 lap. Oh, except that he's lost the rear of the car and did what you suggested, Daniel Kiss did. He exited before crossing the line because, of course, when they cross the start-finish line, that counts as another lap. They've begun another lap.
That is very, very true. Felix van Delft has been through Sector 1. He's done a 27.5. Jörn's done a 27.4 Sector 1. It's not purple, but it's still quick. Martin Gosby does a 27.4 Sector 1 as well. But Jörn Simičić heading through the first Lesmo now, as Harley Hamner has just improved on his lap time. Jörn may get a bit of a slipstream here. That looks like a Ghost Speed car right ahead of him. It is a Ghost Speed car. That's going to give him a massive amount of boost down the main straights, as we have no DRS in the World Championship or in Formula Sim Racing. So Jörn Simičić, purple, Sector 2. That little bit of slipstream has benefited him by a couple of tenths. Now he needs to just carry that on down into the Parabolica. He's already sitting on provisional pole position. He may be about to extend the gap by a fraction smoothly into the Parabolica. I see, is he aggressive on the exit? No, again, looking very stable is Jörn Simičić there. Takes the shortest line to the finish, and he does improve at 21.8. But Risto Kappa is just on a 27.3 Sector 1 time. He's flying.
Gosby managed to improve as well with a 21.9. So he put together a personal best Sector 1 and Sector 3 and a solid Sector 2. Only a 10th off Gosby's Sector 2, off Journey's Sector 2. So
Risto Kappa's purple Sector 1 hasn't been followed up by even a personal best Sector 2, I don't think. There's a 28.0, half a second slower than Jörn Simičić. He is still up on his own time though. He gained enough in the first sector, goes up to 6th place.
It's just starting an outlap.
And interestingly, he's got Mohammed Patel right behind him, and Mohammed Patel has started a flying lap. So Daniel Kiss trying to give him a little bit of slipstream heading through Curva Grande, which is not going to give him any effect of dirty air really. It's just going to help him. Kiss moves out of the way nicely, but doesn't give him the benefit. Yes, a 27.3 Sector 1 time.
That's the fastest I can see here. On a Timu Valkyravi's done a 27.376.
Ooh, so Timu's only just gone and beaten him then. That may cost, I mean, Patel looked quick in the slipstream, but he hasn't got slipstream now, so he may suffer for the rest of this lap.
I'll keep an eye on the timing for you for Patel Sector 2.
He's heading into Ascari now, braking very, very late, very aggressive on turning. Ooh, holding third gear through Ascari.
Personal best Sector 2.
He's on for an improvement then.
And in fact, it's the third quickest Sector 2 that I can see here, so it's looking like a pretty tidy lap indeed.
But he needs to finish the lap quite nicely, runs and, well, uses all of the track and a little bit more, but he keeps it legal. Stays 5th though, lost a 10.5 in the final sector.
Yeah, well, that's a surprise. So P5, he's going to be wanting to improve on that. So most of the drivers now have had 2 of their 4 shots. Our regular viewers will know the form here. The drivers get 12 qualifying laps to play with. An out lap counts as 1, the hot lap counts as 1, and when they cross the line, that counts as the 3rd one. So 12 laps in a quali session usually amounts to 4 hot laps.
That it does. Just a bit of information for you. Sander Callas is another driver, along with Felix van Delft, that is in as a reserve today. Sander Callas in as a reserve in the NetRex Grand Prix team. Obviously, ace winner from yesterday. And I think many would expect him to give a damn good showing of himself here in the World Championship, but he could be a bit of a benchmark for people to look at, as though to say, well, he's the best in ace at the moment. How does he compare to World Championship? But if he's anywhere near Felix van Delft, I think there may be a little bit of a score to settle on that one. Sander crosses the line, goes 6th. That's a good lap time from him. A 20, let's see, what was it, Santa Carlos, to 22.0.
Yeah, as you say, a very interesting test, Dave, because, you know, I'm often heard saying that the top 5 or 6 guys in ACE are of World Championship standard, and the top 2 or 3 guys in Pro are of World Championship standard. So we'll see if there's any truth in that. But Sander Callis will certainly have his eye in, having done a full distance race yesterday here in ACE. And yeah, indeed, Felix van Delft won't want to be too many places behind Sander in the final standings. Another driver who has stepped up is Christopher Raby. Chris has stepped up from his ACE commitments to fill in for Martin Stefanko in Abbott Chronic. And Chris is on a fast trajectory here in Formula Sim Racing. He only started out last season. He started out in what was called the AMA series and then went into Pro and put it on pole and won his second race in Pro. And he's now a regular competitor in ACE. But Chris is seeing what the difference is between putting a solid performance in ACE and being up against the quickest guys around.
Yep, and talking about being quick, we've got, what, less than a second covers the top 17 drivers. That's just how close it is. I'm just keeping an eye on Teemu Valkeavi. We've got a few drivers out there that are on outlaps at the moment, the likes of D'Alessandro, Patel, Callas, Wieswa, Hoyer, Van Delft. But Valkeavi is about to complete his lap. He's up on his previous best time by nearly a tenth of a second. He may be able to get a little bit of a toe. No, I think the car ahead is too far ahead to benefit him. Currently sitting in 9th. Can he improve? Yes, he does. Improves by a tenth and goes up to 7th.
Interesting, you mentioned the gaps. The biggest gap is the gap between P1 and P2. Journey has an advantage of a full tenth, or 1.1 tenths of a second, and everybody else is in the hundredths, 500ths, 100th, 200ths. So Journey's got a nice turn of pace in his back pocket today.
Well, Mohammed Patel is about to start a flying lap, and I'm pretty sure that I've just seen Daniel Kish exit the pits not too far up the road. But Mohammed Patel's going to have a lot of traffic to deal with on this particular flying lap. May be able to get some benefit from them. Just fire some sector times out here. Wieswa 27.5, Callas 27.5, Mohammed Patel with Daniel Kish right in front of him again through Curva Grande. Can Mohammed Patel improve on the 27.3 he did earlier on? No, he can't. It's a 27.6. I wouldn't be surprised if he abandons that lap. Dave, what do you reckon? It's shambolic.
Well, I don't think they quite managed the handover there for the slipstream. It reminded me of a bit of a relay event where the timing was slightly off as the baton was handed. I think it's going to minimise any gains that Mohammed Patel will get from that first sector. In the meantime, Sander Callis has gone purple in Sector 3, fastest of all Sector 3s, and put him on second place on the grid. And Hoyer has gone purple in Sector 2. I'll have a little look at Hoyer's, the rest of Hoyer's lap. Hoyer's exiting Parabolica, foot fully into it. And Hoyer manages to put himself up into 3rd place. Fantastic lap from Michi Hoyer. That's exactly where he needs to be.
Yep, fantastic lap by Sander Callis as well. Yerni Simicic is on another flyer. He's just had a big handful of slipstream down the main straight from, I think it may have been James Sadler again. So I'm going to keep an eye on his sector time. Can he beat a 27.3? 27.3. He doesn't beat it, he matches it. So I think Yerni Simicic is trying to open up that gap. But, I mean, Sander Callis doing a 27.85. That's phenomenal stuff. Michi Hoyer is only a tenth behind Yerni Simicic at the moment. Martin Gosby is on a lap and he's coming up to complete that any moment now, I believe. Can he improve? Simicic is going to have a double slipstream. He's got another Go Speed car ahead of him on the run up towards the Ascari.
That is slick teamwork.
That is slick teamwork.
Well, Martin Gosby has just done a 1:21.7. Sensational lap from Martin Gosby to go provisional pole. Let's see if Journey's double toe can...
Simicic is 0.01 up at the second sector on Martin Gosby. He's a little bit twitchy through the Parabolica though. Only about 100 metres to go. 50 metres, crosses the line, does not improve.
Wow. Stunning lap from Martin Gosby, our Silverstone winner.
Sander Callas is on another flying lap as well. The interesting thing is you've got Sander Callas. I don't know if he had slipstream on his lap. I've got a feeling he may not have done. And Martin Gosby, I don't know if you were watching him, Dave, but I couldn't tell whether he had any benefit of slipstream either.
Well, I can tell you that Journey Simoncic, if he got slipstream on the... did he get slipstream on the pit straight, Journey?
Yeah, he did.
He did 352 kph, and the next fastest car's got a 347. Oh no, Risto Cappett's got a 351. Adam Maguire's got a 352. Harley Hamnet has just done a personal best lap to move into 12th place with a 122.296. So personal best in all sectors.
Okay, I'm looking at Sander Callas at the moment. He's a 10th down on his own best lap time at the moment through Sector 1. He's heading up to Sector 2 now. He's down again. He's lost more time. Daniel Kish could be someone to watch. He was fastest in the practice session. And he's on an out lap, so we've got a bit of time. I'll keep an eye on Daniel Kish and I'll let you know when he's starting a flying lap.
Okay, as we enter the final 3 minutes of our qualifying session, most of these drivers have just one last shot, one more arrow in their quiver. And I see Mo Patel exiting pit lane to have his final attempt.
Well, if he's exiting pit lane now, he may be on track to also try and benefit his teammate Daniel Kish. Daniel Kish coming around the Parabolica now. I see Risto Capet is also not far off completing his lap, but I am going to focus on Daniel Kish because with him being fastest in practice, the potential is there for him to put a lap in, a decent one at the moment. He's in 6th, and I think he's got the pace to potentially steal pole position. And he is. There's Mohammed Patel right in front of him, waiting for him on the exit of the second corner. So, Daniel Kish, what can you do? Can you beat a 27.3 in Sector 1? Mohammed Patel moves out of the way, opens up the road for Daniel Kish. Nice on the brakes, but it's only a 27.4 as Michele D'Alessandro has gone and put himself into 3rd place with a 121.8. But yeah, I don't think Daniel Kish has been able to benefit as much as he would have liked of the slipstream there, Dave. I mean, there is a factor that if you're too close to the car ahead, yes, you get a slipstream, but not as much as if you were, say, a few metres back and get more of a benefit.
Well, yeah, I believe you. I haven't tested that, but that sounds very logical to me. I'm just blown away by Michele D'Alessandro putting his car into provisional P3 with that sensational lap. And at the moment, it's a bit of how many drivers can we fit in under 1 minute 22, but above 1 minute 21.7. We've got 7 drivers occupying that gap of 0.2 of a second.
That we have. Now, Daniel Kish has crossed the line, did not improve. Also, I just want to give a quick shout out and apology to any of the drivers who we don't get to cover during the qualifying session. Have to bear in mind there is a lot going on. There's a championship at stake. There's obviously a lot of spectacle as well. We're trying to keep an eye on who is going to set that pole position lap time. Gosby's on an out lap at the moment, but Valky Arvy's just done a 27.3 Sector 1 time. Dave.
Yeah, that's just come up on my screen. That's fabulous Sector 1 from him, and that is very, very competitive with the front runners. So if he can string the rest of this lap in. Timo had a good practice race on Thursday night, a good hit out when we did our team practice session, and he was quick and consistent over the full 53 laps.
He's still up on his own previous best time, but it's by less than 1/10 of a second.
James Sadler has just done a PB second and third sectors for a 122.157. So James is in 10th place now.
Well, that'll frustrate him a little bit, I think, because I think everybody's aim in the WC would be to get into the 121s, and Timo Valkyarvi crosses the line, does improve, stays 9th.
And only the people who are on hot laps now can stay out there. Nobody can exit the pits now.
Okay, Simoncic is down in Sector 1. Martin Gosby is down in Sector 1.
Callas on a PB. Mo Patel has just done a PB to get onto the second row of the grid. Mohammed Patel into P3. Row 2.
This is going to be a real test of our broadcasters' finger flicking skills to keep up with what's going to happen here.
Oh. Simoncic purple in Sector 2. Simoncic is on a hot one.
And who's that ahead of him? Is that a Ghost Speed car? It
looks
is a
like
Ghost
it is.
Speed
This
car.
So they use a spreadsheet to organise all of this.
Oh, it's all mathematics. I know all about this. I didn't. I knew nothing about this.
Always drifted. Oh no, Journey drifted it to the limit, and he's entered the pits. Journey has abandoned that lap.
So has Sander Callas. What about Michi Hoyer? Michi Hoyer across the line.
Something went wrong.
Stays 6th.
Gosby is also entering the pits. So there are a lot of people who were not happy with their final shot.
So Martin Gosby then takes pole position.
So congratulations to Martin Gosby, British driver, Silverstone winner. He's got 1 win under his belt this season, and 2 seconds and 1/3. So no stranger to the podium. And along with that brace of podium results, he's been 4th 4 times. So Gosby is actually he's only 14 points adrift of Journey Simoncic. So Gosby could be going to have one of those weekends. Fantastic result.
That we could. Now there are a few adjustments to be made to the qualifying order. I'll go through the penalties in a few moments' time as the drivers now get ready for a 10-minute warm-up session. This is going to allow them to put their fuel in their car. If they're outside the top 10, work out what they're going to do for strategy, whether they're going to start on options or change to the harder prime tyre, the white mark tyre, to go longer in the race. Interesting 10 minutes for the drivers this. Interesting for us in a way because we get to kind of see what sort of race pace these guys are at. But I wouldn't be surprised, Dave, if we do see a little bit of sandbagging out there as well.
Yeah, that could well be the case. And for anyone who's new in our audience, or if this is your first time you watched an FSR live stream, the drivers will now move to race fuel and get out there, and they can make a few tiny subtle changes to their car. Inside the Parc Fermé regulations, they can change front wing, tyre pressures, brake pressure, brake bias, and that's about it. Everything else is locked in. The drivetrain's locked in, all the suspension settings are locked in. So the drivers will potentially make a couple of little tweaks to get the car running as they want, and then just get used to the braking markers, because a car with 80 litres of fuel on primes is just a little bit different on a lap to one that's got 6 litres of fuel and options on a quali hot lap.
I mean, you mentioned as well, Dave, during the start of the qualifying session that the track was going to rubber in, it was going to get grippier as the session goes on, and I did want to touch on that at the time, but with it being such a frantic qualifying session, I've never really got a chance to do so. For anyone that isn't aware, Formula Sim Racing on rFactor 2, it's not like some of your more arcadey type games. I won't mention any, but basically on rFactor 2, where you drive, you lay rubber down. Now, something that caught my eye, got my attention, Dave, is during the practice session, there wasn't because there's an hour-long practice session before qualifying where the drivers can build up the real road. They can lay rubber down ready for qualifying. But for a good 35-40 minutes, there was only about 8 or 9 drivers in that practice session laying rubber down. I think a lot of teams, perhaps Musto, Twister, Go Speed and Go Speed Engineering, may have been in their own lobbies working out the logistics of the slipstream for qualifying, but it may have had a little bit of a negative effect in that because they weren't in the FSR practice server, they weren't laying the rubber down on the track they're going to race on. So yes, they may have benefited by getting the slipstream, but they may have also had a bit of a negative by not making the track they're going to race on a little grippier. This is a time now where the drivers have got the opportunity to get out there with the fuel in, pumping as many laps as they can, or go and take a comfort break, but try and get the grip level up a little bit more on this fantastic racetrack.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is true. A lot of the drivers will stay on their own team server and get their qualifying rehearsal down pat, and not want to show their hand, not want to show their full pace until qualifying proper, because if you've got half an hour up your sleeve and you notice somebody's doing something a bit special, you can sort of study what they're doing. And in fact, you can do video overlays if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of it, and learn what people are doing with gearing, learn where they're quick, where they're not quick, and optimize your setup. So the top teams want to arrive and have the battle in the battle sort of thing, and absolutely not show their hand.
That is very, very true. Okay, I'm going to give you a quick update on any penalties that may be imposed from the qualifying session. In a few moments' time, we will also get onto the drivers' standings and the championship standings. That's my little shout out to Steve Harris in the broadcast booth to get ready to show those in a moment. Okay, Jos Araneda, Fran Lopez, they are both still serving a race ban. Back of the grid for today's race is Eneric Andre and Marek Godek. Marek Godek not racing today, I don't believe. But yeah, and Eric Andre, he's going to be starting from the back of the grid. Eros Masciuli has a 5-place grid penalty, or his replacement if Masciuli is not racing today. However, he is, so he will drop 5 positions from where he starts, although he does have the opportunity to serve that penalty at Singapore instead. But I think, Dave, if you were going to take a grid penalty and you had a choice of taking it at Monza or Singapore, you're probably going to take it at Monza, because Singapore's not going to be a place you want to lose 5 places.
Yeah, no, indeed, incredibly difficult to pass and very much strategy driven. I guess later on we can have a chance to talk about the start in Formula One at Singapore if we want to create a big furore.
We could. I mean, I've got a simple view of it. Vettel, defend your position, but my God, you ruined Ferraris and Red Bull's race weekend. You also spoiled it for a lot of fans. That's my opinion on it. Dave,
well, there's only one bloke who tried to put three. There's only one bloke who tried to put 3 cars on the left-hand side of the track, and that was Sebastian Vettel. Ferrari initially tried to blame Verstappen, but I worked out you've got to move your TV really quickly to the left to make it look like Verstappen did anything wrong.
Do you have to squint your eyes and drink a few beers as well?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I'm sure we may even talk about that a little bit later on. We'll see how the race goes. Okay, we've got about 4.5 minutes left of this warm-up session. A quick shout out as well, Martin Gosby, apparently his qualifying lap was without a slipstream, without a tow, so a fantastic lap by Martin Gosby there. But yeah, Dave, drivers standings, constructor standings, do you want to take us through those? Or
fine. If that graphic's up there, if we've got the drivers standing graphic, that's fantastic. And I was doing a little bit of homework, a few stats today, and just looking at this driver standing, Mohammed Patel on 198 points with 6 wins, 1 second and 2 thirds. Mo debuted in FSR in 2008, and he's been in the championship league since 2011. He has recorded 145 races on our Grand Prix championship organising system, which we call Jeep COS, and massive amount of experience. He was the World Championship runner-up in 2015 to Peter Briac. Journey Simicic, 3 wins, 2 seconds and a third, but 2 of those wins coming in the last 2 events. And Journey's showing pretty good form here. And he, of course, had his debut win in Singapore. So the championship's kind of hotting up a little bit insofar as Simicic is on a bit of a roll. And we've got to look back to Magny Cause to see Mo's last win. So Mo will want to stamp his authority on this race and increase the gap, a bit like Hamilton did to Vettel in Singapore. Martin Gosby, fantastic pole from him, and he's had 1 win, which was Silverstone on a wet and drying track, 2 seconds, 1 third, and 4th place 4 times, 134 points, only 14 points adrift of the Slovenian driver Journey Simicic, and that's with 125 points left on the table, including today. So we've had 11 of 16 races. This is race 12. Daniel Kiss, Hungarian driver, 1 win, 1 second, 1 third. So a nice even spread of results for 119 points. Michi Hoyer. Michi Hoyer is the guy hungry for a win. Michi's come second twice. He's been on pole, but not quite landed the win. 2 times second, 1 times third place for 89 points. Michele D'Alessandro has been on the podium twice for 53 points. And then we've got Martin Stefanko, Eros Masciuli tied for 7th, and Brugman and Brewer, who are no longer participating in the season, 9th and 10th by virtue of earlier results. But I'm going to do something interesting here and just run up through the number of races these guys have done, starting with Stefanko. He's done 32 in FSR, D'Alessandro 38, Hoyer 78, Kiss 75, Gosby 104, Simicic 81, and Patel 145. And if there wasn't too much to take in, you just see a trend there that you need massive amounts of experience to really optimize your performance in this simulation called rFactor 2 at this level. Thank you, Dave.
You're very welcome. Okay, should we have a quick look at the constructors' standings? If I go through the top 10 on that one. I haven't gone in depth as Dave has. Fantastic information there and a great insight to some of the drivers' history. But yeah, looking at the constructors' championship, I mean, Musto on 319 points have had a phenomenal season, even if the last couple of races have been a little bit difficult. Flag to flag, Brem GP in second place at the moment on 178 points, but this is where it gets interesting now. Go Speed Racing Team on 165 points, not too far behind them, and then Avid Chronic Racing on 146. This is why it's important for these guys to have reserve drivers in. We then got Stormcharge Vodbull in 6th on 59 points, NetRex in 7th on 41. Go Speed Engineering are next on 37 points, with Invictus Motorsport on 31, BB Madcape on 17, Born to Win on 16 points, and Drillers Motorsport, who are new to the World Championship. This is only their second race, I believe. On 0 points in 12th place, but we're going to be getting ready in a few moments to form the drivers up on the grid as they finish their final warm-up laps. And Dave, we're going to have to get onto strategy as well at some point, because around here it could have a massive effect. But is there anyone that you want to keep an eye on to see if they can do something a little bit special today?
Well, it's a hard one to call. I did look last year. Jerome Quakel won this event on a 2-stop, but the next 6 drivers were all on a 3-stopper, but a little bit reflective of real life. This year's car is not as hard on its tyres, so I'm inclined to think it's a slam dunk 2-stopper if you want to win, because it's all well and good having a slightly lighter car, but if you can't pass people, it's really to no avail. But I may well be wrong. Somebody might like to do a sprint event on low fuel level.
It's an interesting one. I mean, obviously the cars are very different to last year. The tyres are very different. One of them big factors as well is the fuel. And one thing that I know I've noticed with these particular cars is there's almost like a certain level of fuel where once you go over that amount in your car, it becomes a little bit more boat-like to drive. It's a little bit more difficult, unfortunately. So there can be a lot of time to be gained by doing multiple stops, for example. Whether we're going to see any 3 stops today, I don't know. If we are, it's probably going to be down to incidents or somebody trying to do something a little bit different from further down the order. And as I mentioned, the order, I think we're going to be looking at 2 stop. 1 stop, I think, it's too
impossible.
Too slow.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's impossible.
Well,
I just think it's too slow.
To be quick.
Yeah, impossible to be quick. Okay, quick run through the qualifying order then. On pole position, an interesting place to start on pole as well is Martin Gosby for flag to flag Brem GP. He'll be very happy with that, so will his team. In second place we have Yerny Simencic for Go Speed Racing. We've seen him starting second and third in recent races and still be able to lead the race after the first lap. We'll see what happens to him today. In third place we have Mohamed Patel for Musto Racing. You can see his main title contender right ahead of him. In fourth place, we have Michele Di Alessandro, who's been consistently getting quicker in qualifying this season. He's had a bit of bad luck in the races. Hopefully that'll turn around today. In fifth place, we have the current ACE Championship leader, Sander Callas, in as a reserve driver in NetRex Grand Prix. Phenomenal position in qualifying for him, and we know he can be quick in the race. In sixth place is Michi Hoyer, who will be rather annoyed at the fact that there's a reserve driver ahead of him, but we know that Michi has got talent and ability. Let's see if he's going to be able to make passes today. Top speed will be crucial. Seventh place we have Daniel Kish, a few positions behind his teammate. He won't be happy about starting there, I don't think. In eighth place we have Risto Capit for Stormcharge Vodbull. As per usual, keep an eye on this guy for all of the interesting action. In ninth place we have Camille Wiesworth, tends to have very good straight line speed but also a lot of bad luck for Go Speed Engineering. In 10th place, we have Teemu Valkjärvi. He'll be the last guy basically forced onto the option tyre, I believe, for Born to Win. And then James Sadler, probably the best position to qualify if you're not in the top 5. That's 11th place for Ghost Speed Engineering. He's going to start on the prime tyre. Right behind him is Adam Maguire for Ghost Speed Racing. He's gone for the option tyre. We saw James and Adam get close to each other in Hungary as well. In 13th place, we have Harley Hamnet for Drillers Motorsports. On options, Felix van Delft on primes for Flag to Flag Brem GP. In 15th place, we have Christopher Raby on prime tyre for Avid Chronic Racing. And in 16th place, we have John Eric Saxon for Born to Win. 17th is Giordano Valeriano for Netrex Grand Prix, while in 18th is Eros Mashiuli for Twister Racing, both of those guys on the prime tyre, I believe. Dominic Vasienko in about his 4th race in FSR on the prime tyre in 19th place. Then we've got Petter Schultz for Invictus Motorsport, and then Eric Andre in 21st and 22nd, with Arif Rosland starting in the pit lane. So the drivers are forming up on the grid. Some potential interesting strategies, but also a tricky braking point or braking zone down into turn 1. I think Martin Gosby is aware he's going to need to get a fantastic start here. Okay, so the lights are coming on, the revs rise, the tension grows, and away they go, and it looks like a good start from Martin Gosby. He's going to cover off Simoncic. Simoncic is nearly out of road, and he's going, in the background we've got absolute carnage. That is absolutely devastation for all those drivers involved. But Mohamed Patel is trying to make moves. He's trying to make moves on Yerny Simoncic. It hasn't worked. And now he's coming under pressure from Michele D'Alessandro. Will he have a look up the inside into turn 4, sorry? I don't think he will. But that was a massive crash in the back down at turn 1. Michi Hoyer trying to get side by side with Sander Kallas, trying to make the moves early on, trying to apply pressure. He can see that there's an opportunity here if he can get past and catch up to the back of Michele D'Alessandro. Not able to do it yet. He may have to wait until the longer part of the track where the slipstream can really kick in. Dave, I'm just wondering if you've been able to catch your eyes on anything of interest?
Yes, I'm just going back now to have a look at what happened at the back of the grid, because as you said, it was absolute carnage. Wasienko moves across behind Masculi, but it's, well, I'm going forward now to another car. It looks to me like Harley Hamnet might have been one of the, or Giordano Valeriano. I'm just going to, okay, so Valeriano gets a fantastic start. Comes up behind Hamnet, moves across, is squeezed between Saxon and Harley Hamnet, and spun like a top. Unfortunately, I don't think anybody misbehaved. Just Giordano Valeriano went for what was a very small gap, and the gap that got a little bit smaller as Hamnet moved across. So he was unsighted, much as Verstappen was at the start of the real-life Singapore Grand Prix.
Sorry, Dave, I'm going to quick off a second. Michi Hoyer is making a move on Sander Kallas. He's trying to, on the way into the entry of turn 4, side by side in the braking zone. Michi Hoyer trying to go all the way around the outside. If he can keep it on the track, he can. And his mates, Kallas, go a little bit slow. And that's Daniel Kitts pushing around the inside. That has been costly for Sander Kallas there, but it was a lovely move by Michi Hoyer. All's fair in love and racing. Although
that was a bit of a high standard welcome to World Championship, buddy.
Yeah, definitely is. But it was a move that Michi Hoyer need to make because he'd already dropped back a couple of seconds to Michele D'Alessandro. So he's had to get that move done. And in turn, it cost Sander Kallas so much time that it's given him a bit of a breather from behind as well. Up at the front, though, the top 4 drivers, all with about a second between each other, looking fairly comfortable. Michi Hoyer pulling away from Daniel Kish already. But yeah, what a hectic start to the Monza Grand Prix. Adam Maguire all over the back of Teemu Valkjärvi on the exit of the Parabolica. That's a move that's going to be happening any second. And also just ahead is Risto Capit making a move on Sander Kallas. Yeah, Risto Capit going around the outside. So Adam Maguire then up the inside on Teemu Valkjärvi. Valkjärvi's going to fight it out, but loses the rear end. That's going to be a little bit costly for him, and he might now come under attack from James Sadler. And I'm going to have to take a breath for a second.
Well, I was going to say well done to both Teemu and Adam, because it was a strong attack from Adam into the first chicane, and the two of them managed to get through there side by side with no contact. So yes, Timu's lost one place, but he's only one out of the points in 11th, and better to fight, live to fight for another lap. Adam Maguire, of course, is a guy who absolutely loves moving forward, and I think he's about the only guy in FSR who probably needs to get his steering rack replaced after each race, because Adam is incredibly, if we do get an onboard with Adam Maguire, he's generally incredibly active with the wheel. The car tends to look a tiny bit oversteery, but although now he makes a liar out of him, the car looking very stable through the Ascari curve.
Sadler now on the back of Valchiavi. I did mention that Valchiavi may come under pressure. And you were right there, what you're saying, Dave, about Adam Maguire. He does seem to be very active. I have been told by his brother that he dances the same way that he drives. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see.
Now, Timu, you mentioned Sadler. Timu will not be wanting somebody on primes to pass him, because that is basically a death sentence. If somebody can pass you on their slowest stint with primes and presumably a tiny bit more fuel, you just know when you come back out and the roles are reversed that driver's going to just drive away from you. So James is feeling pretty racy. He's in P12. He's only 9 seconds back. And it's around about now that the primes start to feel pretty good, Dave. They take a while for the temps to come in and for the grip balance to establish itself. And they start to feel like an old friend, whereas the options can start to feel quite fragile.
That's very, very true. I mean, the primes do take a couple of laps, as you say, to get the temperatures in. So I'm just having a quick look up at the front. Martin Gosby's got himself a nice little lead up at the front at the moment. Something I was going to mention as well, regarding the strategy, if anyone is on a two-stop, we'll see them in before lap 15 if they're on the option tyres right now. If they're on a three-stop, they'll be in before lap 15. If they're on a two-stop, we're looking between 15 and maybe 18, 19. The prime tyre-clad cars, so the likes of James Sadler, Felix van Delft, John-Eric Saxon, who are in 12th, 13th and 14th, they could potentially go anywhere from lap 20 to lap 30. It all depends on how much fuel they've got on board. But if they could get prime tyres to lap 30, they may be tempted to go for a one-stop strategy. But I think it's quicker to just go for a two, split in two sets of options for the last, 25, 30 laps?
Yeah, I think by the time you load up the car with the prime tyre, when I did my homework for the pro race earlier today, I think the offset in the tyre pace around here is only about half a second, 0.5 of a second, because there's not a whole lot of cornering going on. There's a lot of straight running, a lot of heavy braking zones, and it's one of the smaller pace differences between prime and offset that we'll see over the calendar. But as you've said a couple of times, Dave, the penalty is in the fuel load, because I think in 30 litres of fuel is 0.7 of a second. So the difference between putting 60 litres in and doing a bit of a sprint stint and putting 90 litres in and primes, the thing feels like a milk float. You know, you think you're delivering milk rather than, and it's just not fun. It can be as quick on paper because you're stopping less often, but it is just not fun seeing people pull away from you and you not being able to defend effectively.
Yeah, very true. And I tell you what, I wouldn't want any of these guys to be my milkman, because if they were delivering the milk the way they drive, it'd be all curdled or it'd be turned into cheese.
Michi Hoyer has just recorded the fastest lap of the race, gone purple with a 1:23 and a 1:23. Oh no, and he's already been best lap. Yeah, 1:23.179, which is last time around actually.
Simoncic has caught up to the back of Gosby. He's pulled in about half a second over the last lap and a half. So I don't know whether this could be fuel related, tyre wear related or pressure related. But yeah, Simoncic on a little bit of a charge now. I mean, you did mention about the fuel there as well. I mean, to put it into perspective, for these guys to do a one-stop, you're looking at probably 125 litres of fuel on the prime tyre. You're looking maybe 125s, low 125s. 95 litres of fuel for a two-stop. You're looking low 124s into possibly the 123. So it's massive. But yeah, Simoncic on a charge and he's within slipstream now. So Martin Gosby is going to have to be checking his mirrors quite a bit to make sure he's aware of where Simoncic is going to be coming from.
And Simoncic has got a quick car under him. He's recorded a top speed of 350, but of course he's been getting a little bit of a tow by virtue of Martin Gosby. So I'm going to ride on board with I'm on board with Journey at the moment, because he is within sniffing distance now of getting a really, really good tow from Gosby, and Gosby may in fact even have to go defensive. So Journey is revving it out. Journey's bouncing off the rev limiter at 352 kph. So that is the limit of Journey's top speed there. That's the limiting factor. He was bouncing off the limiter. No pun intended.
Now, to put into perspective as well, though, I mean, that's Yoni Simicic's what, 351, 352? Now, imagine if Gosby was getting slipstream as well and he was doing 351. The potential would be there for Simicic to go quicker, but his gearing isn't going to allow it, unfortunately. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a couple of people in double slipstream potentially hitting 357 or higher.
Well, we've already got one car at 358. Risto Caput has hit 358 kilometres an hour, so he's certainly in a car that's optimised for overtaking, and he's within touching distance of Daniel Kiss in 6th place. We've got Hoyer, Kiss, and Caput with very little separation between them. In fact, D'Alessandro as well. So these cars are line astern, occupying between D'Alessandro, Hoyer, Kiss, and Caput, and Sander Callis and Liswa occupying 4 seconds worth of real estate. So it is very, very close for the last 5 drivers in the top 9. Maguire has dropped back a tiny bit, and when I say a tiny bit, is 1.3 seconds. Having pulled off that great pass on Timu Valkyriavi, he's finding that he's sort of got to catch the breakaway, if we use the cycling term.
Felix van Delft. He's not too far away from the back of James Sadler, but Sadler's just put himself on the grass a little bit. I'm interested to see what Felix's top speed was. He only got to 351. I was going to just cut in there, Dave. Sorry.
You're right.
You were right about Valkyriavi. He's kind of in a little bit of no man's land at the moment, but he has managed to pull away from Sadler, who is now under pressure from Felix van Delft. And if those two start fighting, John-Eric Saxon's going to catch them up as well.
Yeah, Timu's a very experienced guy. He drives quite a bit of iRacing as well, so he's got a very rounded knowledge of some of the top sims, and he does a lot of the great skins that we have in Abercrombie.
Sander Callas, Ace Championship leader. We mentioned that a few times. You also mentioned that Risto Caput has got one of the highest top speeds out there at the moment, but Sander Callas is not too far behind him, to be honest. After a difficult opening couple of laps, it'll be interesting to see if he can get his composure back and really push on, but he's just gone a little bit wide through Ascari. Yoni Simicic has dropped off a little bit from Martin Gosby. I wouldn't be surprised, if he saw what happened when he was following him, hitting the limiter straight away. You're stuffed unless you are right up his gearbox on the exit of the Parabolica. So, do we have anybody potentially able to attack at the moment in the top?
Just had a quick look at Hoyer. He's got a bit of a gap between himself and D'Alessandro, Patel, Simicic, Gosby. Those gaps are relatively stable at the front. We will, of course, over the next half a dozen laps or so, get to an interesting point in the tyres life cycle, and the performance and the balance of the cars will change. Yeah, I think that one you called Callis on Caput, he's pretty damn close, and Caput is very, very close to the back of Daniel Kiss. So, and again Hoyer. So there's really close racing going on there.
We're also at a stage of the race. I mean, you mentioned about the crossover of the tyres. There is that, but also to put this into perspective, there's quite a few drivers out there on the prime tyre. Martin Gosby's probably got another 7-8 laps, maybe 9 laps until he pits. Well, at the moment, if he pitted now, we'd come out in 16th place, potentially 17th place. So over the next 8 to 9 laps, they've got to open up a gap somewhere within the order of around about 25 to 30 seconds, because what they don't want, Dave, is to come out into traffic behind prime tyre runners and not be able to make moves and lose a lot of lap time.
Well, exactly, because when they come out, they're going to have a tank full of fuel. They'll have the lovely option tyres, but they'll have a tank full of fuel, and the guy in the primes, he's going to be going pretty quick because he'll be low fuel and still on a fairly good tyre. Interesting that the time difference, Timu and James Sadler, our front prime runners, and in fact John-Eric Saxon, are all doing low 124s, whereas all of our option runners are into the 123. So at the moment the option runners have got the upper hand, but my money says that over the next even 2 or 3 laps, that balance is going to change slightly, because the prime tyre is still very strong, and finally their fuel load is coming down a little bit. So we'll see some interesting dynamics occur over the next 3 or 4 laps. Risto Capit's just done a purple sector 1, Journey Simoncic a purple sector 2. So
Simoncic seemed to be a little bit slow in sector 1, or the final sector of the previous lap, because Mohamed Patel had managed to close the gap in, but now gone to the faster part of the track. Simoncic has opened it up again. Also, Felix van Delft looked like he made a bit of a mistake somewhere. He's dropped back from James Sadler, and he's come under a little bit of pressure from John-Eric Saxon. Those two are quite close as well. Simoncic has just posted his fastest lap of the race of 23.1 and got the gap back down to 0.8 of a second to Gosby. Yeah, Dave, I was going to mention as well that we're on lap 11. If these guys have got the fuel and want to eke out their tyres, they've got to be really, really cautious at the moment, because they can't afford to slack off too much, because if they do, to preserve the tyre, they could easily find themselves getting pounced on, and not in the way you'd really like. Risto Capit looks very close to Daniel Kish heading up to turn 4. He is close. Is he going to have a look? No, he's not close enough to do so, but he has got the gap right down onto Daniel Kish.
yeah, Felix van Delft had made a mistake on the previous lap. He had a 25.6, sorry, and then his very next lap was a 24, so definitely he made a mistake there of 1.5 seconds worth of value. Journey's gone purple with the quickest lap of the race so far, a 1:23.169, so that's telling me that the option runners at the moment are in that beautiful period of their stint with low fuel, a tyre that's still very, very good, and they're having their moment in the sun. While the car's light, the tyres are still strong. And I find this period of the race always incredibly interesting. Who's going to blink first? Which of these front runners has been getting this job done with a sneaky little bit less fuel than the other guys? Because as we often see, and Mo Patel is probably the most prominent one who gains places.
Sorry, Dave, Risto Capit is quite a little bit behind Daniel Kish, but we know he's got great straight line speed. Yeah, he is. He's going to be able to make a move here. Has a look at the inside. Kish covers him off. So Capit's going to have to go all the way around the outside, but he doesn't go deep enough on the brakes. Maybe he's going to try a little bit of a switchback move. No, he's not able to do it, unfortunately.
That was beautiful defensive driving from Kiss there.
Do you know what impressed me there, though? I think earlier this season we'd have seen Risto Capit just absolutely throw that over the inside. Is he going to do it to turn 4? Now, I've mentioned it, no he isn't. So maybe a little bit of a lesson learned by Risto Capit from races earlier this season. Simoncic is within half a second of Gosby. You mentioned, Dave, about which one of these guys is going to react first, who's going to pit first. I think we can all pretty much put our money down that it won't be Mohamed Patel.
Yeah, no, indeed. If Mo's not on pole, he just usually likes to have an extra lap or two. I think he asked his engineer, how many laps do you think Hoyer's going to do, or Journey's going to do? And I'll take 2 laps more fuel than that, thank you very much, and look after my tyres. But having said that, I don't think this is a track where you can very easily abuse your tyres or look after your tyres. For example, they're coming into Parabolica, you come in hot, you've got to exit as
Sorry,
hot
Dave,
as
just
you
going
can.
to call you off a second.
Yeah.
Simoncic is ever so close to the back of Gosby. He is gaining on him this time. They're going to go side by side down into turn 1. Simoncic is going to have to go the long way around. I mentioned that Simoncic should have to get right up his gearbox, and he managed to do it on this occasion. So he is now into the lead. But
that was an amazing pass.
It was, but I fear for his straight line speed. I wouldn't be surprised if Gosby is able to come right back at him, either into turn 4 or a little later on in the lap. He doesn't have to rush it. He's going to have a look though. Simoncic covers him off.
To the second variante. Gosby knocked off his own front wing, I think, there. And
he knocked off a bit of it, and he's lost
the left-hand end plate. And then it got jammed under the rear axle for a couple of seconds. So he had a pretty poorly handling car. So Gosby is now slightly wounded. He may or may not decide to replace that at the next pit stop. It's just going to depend how understeery his set is and how badly it's been affected. But that was an amazing battle through both the first and second variante between those 2 top drivers. But of course, it's allowed Mohamed Patel through.
Yeah, it has. I mean, for Martin Gosby losing the front end plate, I'd be tempted to just say, right, keep going. It's a low aero track anyway. Just see if you can get through to the first pit stop, and by that point you'll have done 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 laps on it, and you'll know if you need to replace it, because replacing the front wing is going to cost a couple of seconds. Let's see, Risto Capit not too far away from the back of Daniel Kish again, but I don't think he's really gaining as much as he would like. He's gaining quite quickly, 356 kilometres an hour. Not quick enough to get past Daniel Kish. Maybe the Musto boys have done what I mentioned during qualifying, in that they've realised that this track, no matter what their tyre wear is, what their lap times are, they've had to go lower than they've ever been before on the aeros.
So Gosby will be doing a little bit of mental arithmetic now, and he'll be trading off 3 or 4 seconds longer in the pits versus being a little bit slower for every one of the remaining 40 laps. So it's going to be an interesting one, and he will know himself whether at the end of his stint he's suffering a bit from understeer already, which certainly for me tended to happen long into an option stint. But, well, bit of action. Last couple of laps, wow, big changes. Leaders down into third, and D'Alessandro was looking a little bit ambitious as well. He's certainly not holding back.
Cap it on Kish. Kish had a messy Ascari. Sorry to cut you off there, Dave. Yeah, really messy Ascari. Capit's going to go around the outside. They're side by side into the Parabolica. Is he going to cut him off? He is just enough ahead. A lovely move. Now he's got to make sure he gets a good enough exit that Daniel Kish can't come back at him.
It looked to me like a very strong exit.
Yeah, Daniel Kish has got no response for him, unfortunately. But this is definitely a chance for Mohamed Patel. He'll have had a good view of what happened ahead of him, and he is right up the gearbox of Yerny Simoncic. And I'm sure Patel has got engineers listening to the stream. So Mohamed Patel, even though he can't see or know for certain what Yerny Simoncic's limit speed is, he will have definitely been told by his engineer. So Mohamed Patel will know whether he's going to have to do him in a corner or whether he's got the straight line speed on him.
Interesting little snippet. Our prime runners have now dipped into the high 123. So the pendulum is swinging slightly, in that those prime tyres and low fuel loads now are letting them to at least be competitive with the option runners.
But it's gonna get interesting, Dave, because the pit window is now open effectively, and anyone that pits is going to come out behind the prime runners.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you've got to look back to probably 15th place to find somebody that you're going to exit the pits in front of. Wasianko in 15th, also on primes. He's only 20 seconds back, and my money says they'll exit behind him. Which is Journey, of course. He'll be looking hard at that, and that's how he maintained a flag-to-flag win at, and that's not stealing the name of the Grand Prix team, flag-to-flag, a lights-to-flag win, I should have said, at Singapore. He just simply did not pit until he had 20 seconds clear air behind him, and made sure he was the last guy to pit, and exited pit lane still in the lead for his fantastic maiden win in Singapore.
I must admit, I was meaning to pick on flag to flag a little bit a few races ago, because their name isn't quite correct, really, is it? The racers, okay, you could say someone does walk across the back of the grid with a green flag, but it is lights out, as you said, Dave, to flag. So I think they need to rename their team.
Or they sometimes start it with a national flag. It's traditional. If they haven't got lights, they'll use a national flag to start the race. I've had to study all these things, Dave, because I've just got my real-world racing driver's license a couple of weeks ago.
Fair enough.
That's me boasting.
Well done on that one. Good luck to you. Mohamed Patel, I don't think, has got the straight line speed to compete with Yerny Simoncic, by the way. I've been looking at it. We have been asked on YouTube as well if Simoncic has got suspension damage. I've had a look and his steering doesn't seem to be off centre, so I don't think he's necessarily got suspension damage there. Risto Capit into the pits first, and Camille Wieswer into the pits as well. Now this is important. If they go options, from what we saw in the H race yesterday, if they go options, bad call. If they go primes, it's the way to go with the strategy. Wieswer, primes. Capit stays on options.
I think they're going to drop into some nice bit of clear air ahead of Arif Roslan and Harley Hamnet, if I'm correct, and be able to do their own thing.
You are absolutely spot on there, Dave.
So their pace is not going to be inhibited by other drivers.
Daniel Kiss just nearly lost control of his car completely coming through the second chicane through the Variante della Roggia. But yeah, Sander Callas, he must have had a poor exit himself, because the opportunity would have been there. As then Eric Andres makes a move on Harley Hamnet. That's for 18th place, and that's because Harley Hamnet's into the pits.
Harley Hamnet pitting now as well. So there's a poker game going now amongst the top 5 or 6 guys. How much fuel has the other guy got? Because they're running around at similar pace levels now. And it's funny how the little things make the difference. Journey Simoncic is pitting just as we start to speak about it. Very aggressive pit entry on the limiter just as he crossed the limiter line. And lo and behold, Mohammed Patel still out there lapping. Hoyer in the pits as well. Hoyer had to sort of dive around Simoncic's car to get his pit position. Simoncic seemed to have a trouble-free pit stop, but he is still going to exit probably 12th. Some of these guys are entering the pits already. Timu Valkyrie, prime runner, pitting now. Now that's not that silly, you know. He could have just decided to do a.
Sorry, Dave, going to cut you off. Risto Capit is going to try and make a move around the outside of Mitchie Hoyer into turn 1. Risto Capit, having pitted a lap earlier, the amount of time he gained there on Hoyer is absolutely redonkulous.
Well, that was massive, wasn't it?
It was, because he was nowhere near. I mean, there was Daniel Kish was definitely between them, because Risto Capit was obviously, no, it wasn't. Risto Capit was behind Sander Callas. So yeah, Risto Capit absolutely flying on his option tyre. My fear, though, is that Journey Simoncic may have just lost the lead of this race, with Mohammed Patel staying out, by the way.
Yeah, well, these 24 seconds, we'll probably have to wait till he gets the sector done. The other thing Hoyer's got to deal with at the moment, Risto Capit is on lovely, nice warm options that he's already done a lap and a half on.
Patel
Hoyer's halfway through his first lap on the prime. Patel pitting, Gosby pitting. D'Alessandro pitting. Okay, this is going to be interesting. Kiss goes into the lead. Where is Hoyer going to slot back in?
Well, I'm looking at Simoncic. Simoncic, from what I can tell, went back onto the option tyre. So it looks like he's gone option. So where is he going to be in relation to Mohammed Patel? Let's see, Simoncic coming across the end of the starting grid now, and he is ahead. He's managed to stay ahead. And by the looks of it, Gosby may have gained a little bit on Patel in the pit stop there. And in the background, is that Risto
Capit has pulled off a pass on Hoyer purely by straight line speed. Lovely pass into the chicane. So Hoyer's got a double headache now. He's got Capit in front of him. He's back in P10.
Okay, we're in game changer situation, Dave. Mohammed Patel is on the prime tyre. Journey Simoncic is on the option tyre. He's going to have to run the prime tyre later on in this race. Mohammed Patel, he'll have a choice. Prime option. It's going to be interesting how this goes. Gosby also gone for the prime tyre, as well as Michele D'Alessandro and Mitchie Hoyer and Sander Callas.
Now, what did we say about these prime runners? We've got Sadler, Van Delft and Saxon all in front of Simoncic, but far enough away that it may not impede him too much. He's got 4 or 5 seconds worth of real estate to utilise, and because Simoncic needs to put the hammer down, he needs to really make these options work for him, or a certain Mohammed Patel is going to be grinning like a Cheshire cat. If he can stick with him on the prime stint, Mohammed Patel is going to play a pretty decisive hand.
Well, Journey Simoncic may get very, very lucky here, because the prime tyre runners may only be on them for 22 to 25 laps, meaning they may get out of his way by the time he gets there.
Yeah, good chance of that, I'd say.
Gosby, way too deep in turn 1. Is he going to lose a position here? No, D'Alessandro's not close enough. He absolutely made a mare of turn 1 there. Very easy to do, though. And he didn't repair his front wing either, Dave, so maybe the prime tyre not up to temperature yet, and the slipstream just caught him out a little bit there.
Yeah, well, in fact, a little bit less front wing tends to suit the prime tyre most of the time anyway, although I must say here I didn't really notice much difference.
No, here I didn't either. It's probably the only track this season where I was like, right, I'm keep the same wing for prime and option.
Probably the only time I noticed it was through Ascari, because the rest of the corners are all sort of somewhat unique. So Hoyer here is being dropped by Capet, as you would expect with Capet on the options. But you know what? Risto Capet has crept back up onto the gearbox of Michele D'Alessandro. And Kiss pitting, by the way. Capet is really making his presence felt in this event. I'm pretty impressed with his drive so far, 20 laps in. Kiss, Sadler both in the pits, handing the lead to Felix van Delft.
Risto Capet's going to make a move here surely on his option tyre and the greater straight line speed. Yeah, he'll be ahead before he even gets to turn one. So
He's
this
got a
was
massive
place.
top end.
Yeah, easy move. And in the background, I can see Daniel Kish coming out behind Michi Hoyer. So Michi Hoyer, I mean, the thing is, for anyone that is pitted and put primes on now, this is a little bit of a painful stage of the race, but it benefits you later on. In many ways, you want to be on either
Liswa has had a bit of an accident.
with Sander Callas by the looks of it. Let's see, Camille Weiser, is he out of front wing? Yes, no front wing on the car, unfortunately. Maybe Sergio will be able to show us a quick replay of that. Sander Callas got his right front end plate missing.
Very unfortunate contact, fighting side by side through the first chicane, and did not manage to do it neatly. And I think the only way you can battle there side by side through that the Premier Variante is very politely. Too much assertion and you are in all sorts of trouble.
Somebody else that's in all sorts of trouble is Martin Godsby, because he's now got Risto Capet right behind him, and we know that Capet's quick in a straight line. Risto Capet could potentially get himself into a bit of a fight for possibly a podium here as John-Eric Saxon heads into the pits, leaving Felix van Delft to lead this race. So here goes Risto Capet once again then. He's on a better tyre, he's on a faster tyre, he's just on fastest lap of the race. It's an easy move up the inside, just needs to make sure he gets his braking point right and hopes that Martin get his right, which he does. So that's a nice move for Risto Capet, and he's now what?
He's sizing up Gosby.
He's already passed Gosby.
You know what? I'm on replay still.
That's all right. No worries, Dave. I've got
me.
you covered. Yeah, he's managed to get past Martin Gosby, but Patel is only 2 seconds up the road. So Patel is, I think he's going to come under pressure from Capet in the next few laps potentially.
Callas has lost a front wing end plate in that contact with Liswa. I'm going to check his, see if his steering looks straight. Yeah, it doesn't look like he's had suspension trouble, so he's gotten off fairly lightly.
Well, got off fairly lightly, but at the same time, he's now got James Sadler right behind him, who's on a brand new set of option tyres, and I think Sadler is probably going to be going option. So, I mean, the prime tyre runners, they're all in, I think, in a very good situation. Where did John-Eric Saxon come out? 13th. Is he on the option tyre? Yes, he is. So these guys, they can run option to the end, and they're going to be up against people that are either on primes now or going to be using primes a little bit later on in the race.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Camille Wieswer has DNF'd after that accident. And Eric Andre also out of this race, and Masciuli and Harley Hamner. There's 4 that I didn't really see there. Apologies, got so gripped with the pit strategies there that I hadn't even noticed that they were no longer in the race, unfortunately.
So 15 runners are remaining with 22 laps under our belt. But yeah, as you said before, if you're on the prime tyre at this moment in time, this is a less than pleasurable part of the race, and if you've just jumped off prime onto options, things are going to be feeling pretty nice. The car's going to be feeling quick, and it's a fun part of the race. So Saxon, Sadler, these guys that have switched from primes to options, they're going to be having a bit of fun.
That they are. Okay, we need to keep an eye on Risto Capet catching up to Mohamed Patel, but also I think the next closest battle is James Sadler on Sander Callas. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like that's the next closest battle. Up at the front, it's got a little bit more spread out. But yeah, I think James Sadler may be in position to attack Sander Callas any moment. Risto Capet has got the gap down to just over a second.
Felix van Delft finally in the pits after 23 laps on the prime. And you know this has worked out pretty well for? Timu Valkyriavi, who started off on primes. He's only 14 seconds adrift of the leader, and he's about to go P8. He started in 11th. So nice work there from Timo.
That he is. Okay, is that Felix van Delft coming out to the pits? He's going to come out right next to Sander Callas and James Sadler. Felix van Delft going long, has been able to jump both Sadler and Callas. Sadler's going to try and make the move on Callas, while Callas was having to avoid Felix van Delft. But that is why Felix van Delft went longer on the prime tyre. Sadler is going to be annoyed now. He's going to try and make the move on Callas into turn 4. Callas goes defensive as he needs to. Is he going to be late on the brakes? Yes, he is, but he goes deep. He goes deep. That's Callas off the track. He's going to have to give that position up. He does. That's Sadler up into 11th place. But Felix van Delft, what a job he's done stealing that position.
Yeah, fantastic work. Fantastic work from Felix there.
Look at
Great
this, Dave.
strategy.
Risto Capit, 7/10, half a second.
Now, by
He's
the way,
right
we
on the
said
back of
Journey
Patel.
had to really make this option stint work for him. He's pulled a 3.5 second gap on Mohammed Patel, and he's running mid 123s.
Risto Capit's got a chance here of attacking Patel into turn 1. It's his first opportunity. Is he going to go for it straight away? No, he doesn't. Caution again from Risto Capit. That's something we didn't see in the early stages of the season, Dave, from this guy. Showing
He's
a lot
driving
more of experience.
beautifully judged race. Yeah, I know. I hear where you're coming from, and yeah, hats off to him. Very well judged in the attacking zones.
I mean, I know plenty of people that once they catch up to a guy, they want to go past straight away, first opportunity. But sometimes you have to think about the longer game. Make sure you don't lose. Work out where you're quicker, where they're stronger, so you can benefit the most. If he almost had an opportunity on that occasion, no point dive bombing. Just try and close that gap up a little bit more and make it easier on the next lap. Okay, let's have a look. Anything close?
And particularly for
Capit,
Capit, who knows he's got a very, very fast car under him. And he just knows if he can get 10 feet closer to Mo, which I think Capit, by the way, is getting a lovely run on Mo Patel out of the Ascari, and is going to be all over him like a cheap suit if he gets a good exit on the Parabolica. And Capit is holding nice and close. I think he looks to me he's closer than he was last time round. So Capit is pedal to the metal in the dirty air, getting that slipstream from Mo Patel, and it's job done. Just as they pass the pit exit, Capit has had the easiest of overtakes by virtue of his top speed. Lovely, lovely work, and he drives past the World Championship leader. Stunning performance by Capit. Meanwhile, Simičić 4 seconds ahead now, 4.2 seconds ahead. So he's making those options work.
I think Simičić may have to pick up his pace though, because Capit is absolutely flying. Capit's probably got another 7 laps on these option tyres, so it's not like he needs to save fuel or anything. He can just absolutely go for it, and he's now on exactly the same strategy as the race leader Yerni Simičić. So I don't think Simičić can afford to let Capit close in on him. However, he has been able to afford perhaps opening the gap up to Patel, but not punishing the tyres too much so he can make them last nicely.
Yeah, Capit was one of the earlier guys to pit. I'm just going to have a quick look at his lap times late in his first stint, because I've just got the feeling that Capit is running less wing than anybody else, clearly. And that can have an impact on his tyre life late in the stint. So I'm just comparing their lap times, although of course Journey's would have been affected by traffic. Yeah, Journey was a bit quicker late in the stint, so he might be okay, but as long as he doesn't let Risto Capit get within a slipstream distance of him.
Okay, I'm going to have to cut you off quickly, Dave. John-Eric Saxon trying to make a move on Sander Callas, but we've also got Felix van Delft very close to Adam Maguire. John-Eric Saxon is definitely making the move. I'm just going to have a quick look at Felix van Delft. He's not close enough. So yeah, John-Eric Saxon taking Sander Callas down into turn 1 with John-Eric Saxon on the option tyre. We're seeing these guys, John-Eric Saxon, James Sadler, he's going to hate me for getting his name for a moment there. He is my team boss. And Felix van Delft, who is now hunting down Adam Maguire. These guys now on the options are absolutely flying. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the final stages of this race when we get there. But yeah, Felix van Delft is now looking very, very racy.
Yeah, they've come alive, haven't they? These prime runners, they take their medicine at the beginning of the race and then drop the options on. And it feels like Christmas for them. So Simičić 4.2 ahead of Capit. They've probably got 6 laps to go in this stint. 32, and then it'll be Prime's home. So it's a 2-stopper.
Van Delft is close enough. He's actually pulling out of the slipstream to not get too close. Ooh, and that's why, because he almost hit the back of Adam Maguire there. Always got a little bit unstable mid-corner, but now he's as close to Maguire as Capit was to Patel. Let's see what Van Delft's straight line speed is like. It's surely got to be good enough. 3.48, and now he's dropping speed, as you mentioned, Dave. Pulls out to make the move and hits that wall of air.
They're going to be side by side. Come on, behave, boys. Whoa,
oh, that's Maguire.
Adam just gets that throttle down. I didn't think there was contact. It's just if in your eagerness to exit the first chicane, if the car's not straight and you're in a low gear, oh, you can light up those rear tyres so easily. You've got to short shift out of there and be dead straight, because these cars with no aero and in a low gear, man, do they spin up the rear tyres. And of course, these guys are all driving with absolutely no assists at all.
That is very, very true. Okay, I'm just having a quick look at Patel, Gosby, D'Alessandro, Hoyer. I mean, let's see. Patel is, 6 seconds behind Simičić at the moment, which isn't too bad, really, given the tyre compound difference. But I'm just trying to sort of think of what sort of gap Simičić is going to need to have a buffer when he's on the prime tyres at the end. And these guys are then on the options and going potentially faster than Risto Capit is at the moment.
Yeah, certainly. If I were Journey, I'd want 4 or 5 seconds in hand, because when you exit the pits on those primes, they're just not very nice for a lap or two. You just haven't got the ability to push them. And when they come in, you can just push them hard all day long. But what's going to boil down to quite a lot is fuel. How long the guys can run on these options, and therefore how heavy the car is going to be for the prime stint. So if Journey can do... He pitted 1 lap later than Capit did in the first pit stop. Capit was 16 laps. Journey was 17. If Journey can do at least that again, or maybe even 1 more, he's going to have just a slightly lighter car when he's got to take his medicine and put the primes on. And I think it's all going to boil down to that.
I think you're very, very right. John-Eric Saxon, having made his move on Sander Callas recently, is now catching up to the back of Adam Maguire. I'm also keeping an eye on Felix van Delft, because I think he's closing that gap in on Teemu Valkjärvi. I mean, it's about 5 seconds at the moment, but Valkjärvi's on the option tyre, and he still has prime tyres still to use. So I think there's still a potential 8th, 9th, 10th for Van Delft, Sadler and John-Eric Saxon in this race.
Yeah, I wanted to check Valkjärvi's tyre usage, but the spelling of his name, the database doesn't like the way he spells his name, so it doesn't give me the tyre information retrospectively, I'm afraid.
It's a shame when that happens, but I suppose it's a sneaky way for them to keep all their data hidden. It doesn't help us any, though. Because I know I had that with George Winter in the Ace race at Hungary when I was doing the broadcast on that. Oh, Adam Maguire's off track. Adam Maguire's race is over. Either that or I've been disconnected.
No, I think you're right. I think Adam Maguire might have been disconnected.
Oh, I think you might be right on that one. Yeah. Yeah,
he's flashing like Doctor Who.
I'm guessing you don't mean his jacket. I'm guessing you mean the TARDIS when it appears.
Yes, Dave. Yeah.
I just needed to make it clear on that. You did say you'd got a new webcam, so need to make sure that you're using it for the right purposes.
Simičić stable still with a give or take 4 seconds to Capit, and the other gap that I find interesting is Hoyer Patel is very stable at around about 5 seconds. Now they're both, of course, Capit in the pits.
Now, where is he going to come out? I've got a feeling it could be somewhere between Sadler, Saxon, Callas, and maybe even Capit's teammate Vasilenko.
Yeah, it's going to be in amongst those three, and he's going to give himself some more work to do. And he's on prime, so let's see what Risto can do on the primes. He's been having a fantastic race on the options.
Well, he's going to come out in a little bit of clear areas behind his teammate Vasienko, so depending on his pace, Vasienko may decide to help him out a little bit. But I am interested, you mentioned about Hoyer, I'm interested in D'Alessandro, Gosby and Patel, because it looks like Gosby may be closing in a little bit on Mohamed Patel, and Yerny Simicic has opened up the lead by another 2/10 recently, so Simicic on a charge, could be pitting any time now. I mean, he pitted a lap after Capit previously, didn't he, Dave? So we can see him in the pits now.
Yeah, probably two. If he maintains a stint length, it'll be another lap yet. And you know what, Gosby's been quick on these primes, straight into the mid 123. So Gosby is really working well on the prime tyre. So he could still figure very, very influentially in this result, because he'll of course switch to primes. Journey goes through again.
That is true. I mentioned about Felix van Delft. He was 5 seconds behind Teemu Valkjaervi. He's 3 seconds behind Teemu Valkjaervi, depending on what the timing screen is going to do for me. But I'm also interested in Sander Callas. He's got John-Eric Saxon ahead of him on the option tyre, but Callas is now holding pace with him. But he is on a prime tyre, where he's going to be rid of that within maybe 3-4 laps. John-Eric Saxon just had a massive lock up into turn 1 as well. But yeah, so there is a crossover period of prime and option, but also the fuel. I think Felipe Giro again was asking on YouTube, do the option tyres go off on these as they do on many other games or even in previous years? They still go off, but nowhere near as badly as, for example, last season's option tyre did. I think that's right, Dave?
Yeah, indeed. Last season's car had a lot less aero, so you're relying on a lot more mechanical grip, and the tyre was softer. You know, I think didn't we have 4 compounds last year? But yeah, tyre wear was a bigger issue, a bigger deal, and when your tyre wear went away, the performance of the car just really fell away quite quickly. This car has more stall. Mo Patel, big tank slapper, exit of Parabolica, brought it back under control. Yerny Simicic has 6.5 seconds lead now on Mohamed Patel, so he's made his options work. Mo can see him as he enters the first chicane. He can see.
He can see Gosby in his mirrors getting bigger as well. Gosby's on him. That mistake by Patel has put him under pressure now. Gosby's got an opportunity.
Now, Yerny Simicic will be cheering for Martin Gosby, because he really badly needs someone between him and Mohamed Patel for championship points purposes. So Gosby is having a great drive, doing so well in these primes. D'Alessandro a couple of seconds back. Hoyer 1.5 seconds back from D'Alessandro. All of these guys getting the business done on these options, and Journey, the man on the prime, on the primes. Journey, the man on the options. He's gotten the job. He's had the job done as well, because he's 6.7 seconds ahead. Will he pit this time around? I don't think he will. I think he might do up to 2 more laps, but let's see. Only Journey knows, and his engineer.
Well, looking at his pace at the moment, if he's got the fuel, he'll carry on. That could be the limiting factor for him. And he hasn't pitted, he has carried on. Gosby not quite close enough to attack Patel, I don't think. But Sander Callas, I mentioned him earlier on, he's getting stronger on his prime tyres behind John-Eric Saxon. So yeah, I mean, I'm still not sure if 7 seconds is going to be a big enough gap for Yerny Simicic, and that might be why, Dave, you're saying that he's going to go longer if he can now. Yeah,
exactly. I think as every lap that goes by makes that 7 seconds more healthy, because it's a shorter prime stint on lower fuel. The more laps he does, he's already down now to a 20-lap stint on the prime. He's been doing 17 on the options. So, you know, I think a driver of his calibre, is it going to be 0.4 of a second pace penalty? Maybe that's about it. 20 laps times 0.4, that's 8 seconds, and he's got 6.8, but the other guys have got to get past him. So I think he's going to have a nice, comfortable exit, get a chance to get those primes working, and there's only a second in it, if that. It'll just depend how good he is, how strong he is on the prime. And it looks he's going around yet again. So that's 34 laps completed.
I mean, to put that
So we're
into
now talking a 19-lap prime
yeah.
stint. Sorry, Dave.
Sorry, I was going to say that. I mean, we're now talking potentially almost a shorter prime stint than he has his middle option
Yeah,
stint.
which I think is very, very clever because it negates the prime offset, the prime lap time penalty, by not just overloading it with fuel, which is what most of us do. We're stuck with that slow tyre where we put more fuel in because it lasts longer. And if Journey's able, through his skill, to be able to get more laps out of the option, he's just on that nasty slow prime tyre for less time.
And to help him as well, I mean, Gosby being as close as he is to the back of Patel, that means Patel is on edge everywhere all of the time. He can't afford to take a breath, let alone lift off the throttle a little bit too much. As Sander Callas makes the move on Jon-Erik Saxon, you know what, I've just been watching them for 3 laps and nothing happened. And as soon as I jump away, Sander Callas makes the move. Hopefully Sergi Adas will be able to show our viewers a replay of that one. Looks like it may have been into turn 4.
I'll go back so I can help out.
Well, while they're doing that, Simičić into the pits for his final stop. Gosby also not close enough to Patel to attack again. He's getting closer, but not close enough. I have seen the replay has been shown of the move by Sander Callas, and that's all about those prime tyres getting stronger and stronger. Jurni Simičić now on the prime tyres with, as you said, Dave, a lower fuel load than what many prime tyre runners have been using so far. And where's he going to come out? You know what? He's going to come out with a little bit of a safety buffer, because the car behind him is his team owner, sort of team boss, teammate, that fake word in racing, James Sadler. So yeah, Simičić knows he's going to be safe from behind for the moment. He's got a nice bit of clear air to Felix van Delft. Felix still going fairly quick at the moment, although he has lost. Well, actually, no. Valchiavi's pitted, so I can't see my reference to how Felix has been doing recently.
Well, Felix himself will be pitting within 3 or 4 laps anyway for his final option stint. Yep. And Felix is doing nice lap times. He's doing mid 1:23, so he's not going to cause any problem to Journey. That's about what Journey is going to be doing on these primes anyway, most likely. So,
Gosby, sorry Dave, Gosby's close to Patel again. They take 2 very different lines through the Parabolica, which is of no surprise, and Gosby into the pits. Okay, this could be crucial. We saw Felix van Delft get a major overcut on his pit stop, so Mohamed Patel staying out. He's going to hope that he does that, but Gosby's on the option tyre, so he potentially could be a little bit quicker than Patel when he comes out, whereas Jurni Simičić, or you know what, Gosby's going to come out in a bit of traffic.
And Gosby instructed his pit crew not to replace that front wing. Doesn't want to lose the time, and obviously able to drive around the slight lack of front downforce. Moving the brake bias has a bit of an effect on that. Move it rearwards, and the front tyres have got a little bit more breathing space and changes your balance ever slightly.
Now, I've got a little admission to make. I said earlier on, if you were an option in this race, you're pretty much doomed. But to be fair, Simičić has been able to hold the gap through the pit stop to Gosby at about 7 seconds. So he's on for keeping hold of the lead at the moment, and Gosby has got Saxon, Callas, Sadler ahead of him, but all those guys are going to be pitting fairly soon for a new set of tyres. Let's see.
And Journey is 18.8 seconds adrift of Mohamed Patel, which is less than a pit stop. That's the key thing.
Patel pits.
Okay, so this is going to be absolutely critical. Now, Jurni Simičić, top speed approaching the Parabolica. Mohamed Patel urging his crew to get the tyres on as quickly as humanly possible. Simičić still entering the straight. Mohamed Patel on the pit limiter. And Simičić has passed. Simičić is blown by.
And the cars ahead of Martin Gosby that I said will be pitting soon are all in the pits together. Gosby coming down the main straight now, and he can see Mohamed Patel coming out of the pit exit. Mohamed Patel holds onto the position on the option tyre. Now that's going to be a battle for second place, but at the same time, these guys have got to play it sensible. If they fight too much, Simičić runs off. if they play it clever, Simičić comes under pressure. Okay, Sadler, Kallas, Saxon, Vasienko all pit. The only traffic they're going to come back out in is the people that they've just pitted with. And now leading the race is Michi Hoyer.
So Michi really needs to just have the laps of his life over the next 3 or 4 laps, although it's probably only going to be 2 or 3 laps now, because he's got Mohammed Patel is 20 seconds behind him on the road and full fuel but options. If Michi, and looks like Michi's pitting, so we'll know in a moment whether Michi manages to exit the pits ahead of Mohammed Patel. So he enters pit lane onto the limiter, pulls into his pit box, car's up on the jack straight onto the option tyre. Mohammed Patel is entering the parabolica. This is a bit of a replay of what we saw a lap or two ago. Mohammed Patel pushing it very, very hard. Yeah, and he's going to have him. I think Mo is going to fly by.
I'm interested. Sorry, I'm interested
well.
to see where Van Delft is going to come out of the pits, because he's just pitted. He's on the option tyre, and obviously he was in a little bit of a battle with Valchiavi and Sadler. Is he going to be able to jump Valchiavi? I think he is, you know. Valchiavi coming down the main straight now, and yeah, Felix Van Delft is a good 1.5 2 seconds up the road.
Beautiful strategic race from Felix Van Delft. And you know what? That hasn't worked out too bad for Hoyer, because Hoyer was in 10th place a while back during his prime stint, but always staying within 5 seconds of Mohammed Patel. He's now 4 seconds behind Mohammed Patel, but shod equally on option tyres.
But
in fact, all of them are.
Sorry, Mohammed Patel is only 5 seconds behind you, and he's Simičić. Daniel Kish has still got another pit stop to make. But yeah, if that gap of 5 seconds comes down at half a second a lap, we're on for one hell of a race for the win. But not only that, if Patel and Gosby have got half a chance of winning this race, then so has Michele D'Alessandro, because he's right behind Martin Gosby, and if I'm not mistaken, he hasn't got another stop to make.
Yeah, the next few lap times from Simičić and Patel are going to be really, really intriguing. Patel, of course, are fresh options. He should be flying. These should be the fastest laps of his race. Gosby's just done a personal best, 1:23.2. D'Alessandro 1:23.2. So they're absolutely flying. Journey's next lap will be the telling one, because that lap was his out lap really on the prime, or out lap but one. The primes are going to start coming to him now. And we have 5 seconds, less than 5, 4.5 seconds between Simičić and Patel. 14 odd laps to run. So Journey can only afford to give away about 0.3, 0.3.5 of a second per lap. But of course, once Patel catches him, Patel's got to pass him. So if Journey can push hard enough that Patel only catches him very much at the end of his option stint. We've got to remember too, Journey's doing a short prime stint. His tyres are going to be beautiful on lap 52, lap 53. Mohammed Patel's tyres are going to be reaching sort of that uncomfortable phase for the option. So I'm going to look at Journey's lap time now. Kish hitting.
Yep, Daniel Kish into the pits. That'll be for his final set of option tyres. Let's see, I mean, Simičić.
A 1:23.9, so he's into the 1:23 straight away. But Mo Patel is a 1:23.4.4, so it's 0.45 actually. Intriguing. Last time around, time difference 0.45. This is game on. Gap of 0.4 of a second. Now, we're really focusing on this, and apologies to other drivers, because we have the leader of the World Championship in P2. The runner-up is leading in P1, and it is going to be really come down to the wire in terms of this fight. Gosby only a second adrift, or 0.8 of a second adrift of Patel, actually. So Gosby has certainly not given up his hunger to consolidate his podium.
He hasn't, but D'Alessandro is right up his rear
Half
wing.
a second.
I mean, this is fantastic. I mean, I said early on that Michele D'Alessandro has been consistently getting a bit better. He's within range to potentially attack Gosby.
Yeah, no, fantastic drive from D'Alessandro. I mean, And Michele has always had pace. It's just he's had some fantastic stints, some fantastic races pace-wise. It's just that consistency.
This is it. Gosby went a little bit deep into the Parabolica. This is D'Alessandro's opportunity. If he can make the move now, he might not lose too much battling, and he can go after Patel. Using all of the slipstream, nearly clips the back of Gosby. He's going to go round the outside. Gosby goes late on the brake, side by side, through turn 1, through turn 2.
Don't lock wheels. Oh, that was ever so close.
Yeah,
fantastic pass. Yeah, very wonderful driving from both of those competitors.
It's a corner. You don't really want to be squeezing a guy on the exit there because he has nowhere to go. But Gosby's going to try and fire back up into turn 4 as he thinks better of it. This is where it might benefit him to think sensibly and go, okay, D'Alessandro, if you're quick at the moment, I'm going to follow you. Go and get Patel. I'll follow you.
The quickest guy on the track at the moment is Michi Hoyer. He's doing 1:23.1s.
Well, he's in a nice little bit of clear air just behind now Gosby, and that little battle between Gosby and D'Alessandro has put Michi Hoyer in contention to potentially attack them. Not yet, but I mean, last time he came through the Ascari, they were so far ahead he could barely see them. Now they're within range.
Yep, indeed. It's 1.6 seconds, and of course, while they're fighting hammer and tong for track position, Michi Hoyer is driving quali laps behind them and going, yeah, guys, roll your sleeves up and get into it, because the more you mess each other's lap time up, the closer I can get. And this is the closest Michi's been to Mohammed Patel. He's only 4 seconds, pardon me, gap to Mohammed Patel.
The thing is, though, I mean, Gosby and D'Alessandro. The thing is, Gosby and D'Alessandro having their little tussle, that's freed up Patel. He's now clear from attack. So Patel has got more of an opportunity now to focus and attack Simricic.
Yeah,
there's what, 10 laps to go?
I've got a bit of news for you on that, though, Dave, and this is going to surprise you. Mohammed Patel's last lap time, a 1:23.351. Journey Simricic's last lap time on primes, a 1:23.339. Journey Simricic is going as quick on the prime as Mohammed Patel is on the option, which is really, that is something special.
It is. I mean, I mentioned during I think it was the warm-up session, or even in the formation, I can't remember, that a few people have been saying that Journey Simricic, or Ghost Speed, have found something in the setup. And I was trying to say, no, it's Journey. It's his ability. It's his talent that is just, I don't know whether it's because he's becoming a married man, or whether it's just his confidence has grown or what, but recently he has just literally hit the track running, and it's been working for him.
Well,
but
he's the form driver of these last 3 races, and I hope Mrs. Simricic is watching this transmission. Journey is newly married, so congratulations to him and his lovely new wife, and a shout out to you if you are watching, Mrs. Simricic. You should be very proud of your husband.
That is true. Now, you remember early on, Dave, we talked about Risto Capit having fantastic pace and sizing up Daniel Kish. It's time to repay the favour. Daniel Kish right behind Risto Capit on the option tyre, while Capit's on the prime. Whether he's going to be able to attack him down into turn 4 or not, I don't think so. No, he can't. But yeah, it's now Daniel Kish's turn to make Risto Capit feel a little bit slow on those white marked tyres.
Yeah, indeed. Capit's in that sort of uncomfortable feeling of a fairly long prime stint, which is what everybody sort of went through at some stage in this race, except Journey, really. And you've got to remember, Journey and Risto, they were...
Here we go, side by side, heading up towards Ascari. Daniel Kish is going to have to go all the way around the outside, but that's really good defensiveness from Risto Capit, but he may have just compromised his exit. That'll give Daniel Kish an opportunity, but Risto Capit once again showing a little more composure. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, that was great driving from the two of them. Unlike the first chicane, you cannot go side by side through Ascari. It's just too fast. There's only one line that works. Unless you slow the car down by about 40 kilometres an hour, you've got to let the other guy go through there. So yeah, better to preserve your vehicle and fight another day.
Now, you mentioned about Yerli Simicic's lap times recently, Dave. The last 2 laps... Oh, Daniel Kish has just tagged the back of Risto Capit. No harm, no foul on that one, I think. No damage caused, but a little bit of a time loss for Daniel Kish, as Mitchell Hoyer's been doing fastest laps again. But
yeah, he's just gone purple. He's into the 122s, the only driver that's dipped into the 122. So Mishi is on fire,
he
and
is,
he has 10 laps left.
Sorry, Dave, he is. But the more important thing is, the last 2 laps, Yerli Simicic has been half a second slower than Mohamed Patel.
Yes, indeed, yeah. Point 0.4 last time round. So he's still got that buffer, but it's a little bit of it's being nibbled away.
That it is.
Alessandro certainly isn't giving Patel any pressure. But you know what? This top 5, it's a group of cars that's covering a smaller and smaller piece of real estate every lap that passes, because Michi Hoyer up the back is absolutely flying. He's the fastest guy on the racetrack, and Yerli Simicic on primes up the front, he is the slowest of these top 5 at the moment. So this group of 5 is needing less and less room each time they come past the pit lane.
Daniel Kish might need a bit of room though. He's on the back of Risto Capit once again, heading down into turn 1, but he hasn't got the straight, even though 359 kilometres an hour, and it wasn't fast enough to attack Risto Capit. Are you having a laugh?
Yeah, Risto Capit he's come here armed with a very quick car, isn't he, in a straight line. And I mean, sometimes the viewers must wonder, well, why doesn't everybody set their car up to have maximum top speeds? And of course, it's there's a compromise, because they're moving now into sector 2. You've got to get through the Lesmos, third gear corners. You've got to get through Ascari, third, fourth, fifth gear corner. So you need aero. So if you just keep trimming the car out till you've got absolutely no wing, you lose speed through the Lesmos, and you lose speed through Ascari. And the exit of the Ascari chicane, now Kiss, if we're still with Kiss, is on Capit again. A strong exit from Ascari is what sets you up really for that attack down the pit straight. But Capit is managing, even though he's on the prime, to be doing a very, very nice exit out of Ascari each time round.
I mean, you're absolutely spot on there as well. I mean, it's not just a case of giving the car longer gears or taking the aeros off. It's got to all balance into gear ratio for the corner that you want to be going round, and there's so many factors to it. I mean, I noticed when I tried going for a longer sort of 7th gear, it cost me lap time. But it was I had to do a compromise lap time for an opportunity to potentially overtake. And they're kind of the things the drivers have to go through. It's not just a case of, take a bit of wing off.
No, exactly. The car's got to work everywhere, and if you've got to, you'll win 0.1 of a second on the main straight and lose 0.1 of a second through some corners. That's fine. But when you get to a point where you're winning 0.1 and losing 0.2, that's when you start saying, I'm nearing the limit. For information, last time around, Simicic and Patel within a 10th lap time wise, 63 hundredths the difference. So Journey still holding on to this little bit of a buffer, and you know what, the longer we go, the easier that's going to get to be. So I'm just going to have a look. Yeah, see, Mo is 9 laps into his option stint, and his options will still be lovely.
Sorry, Daniel Kish has got an opportunity here. Risto Capit had an awful Ascari. Sorry, Dave. He had an awful Ascari, but he still managed to carry decent speed. There may be a question about the legality of the line he took on that occasion, but this is giving Daniel Kish an opportunity. He needs to be a little bit closer if he can be. This is an opportunity. Definitely, he's closer than I've seen him be before. Question is, has he got the straight line speed? Getting up to 359 kilometres an hour might work for him. I've got a feeling we're going to see him go for it. No, he's too far back. I mean, Capit's straight line speed is phenomenal.
It is absolutely phenomenal.
Sorry to have cut you off there, Dave. But yeah,
no,
Mr.
that's
Capit
fine.
was so much out of shape. I thought I was definitely on.
You had the action. Again, less than a 10th last time round between Mo and Journey. Journey is now 123.6, plays 123.6. So Journey's got the primes working beautifully. Mohamed Patel has now done 10 laps on these options. So they're still good, but they're not quite what they were, and they've got the same fuel load. So my money says over the next few laps, it's going to be stalemate, or even Journey establishing a very, very slightly bigger buffer on these prime tyres with low fuel load.
It is. I just want to give the viewers a quick update. Obviously, we're aware of Simičić Patel, but the D'Alessandro Gosby Hoyer battle is still very much alive. Right behind them is the Risto Capit Daniel Kish battle, but there is also the James Sadler Sander Callas battle going on for the final points position as well. But yeah, I mean, this, I know some people may be sitting there going, oh, there's been no overtakes whatsoever. But there has been action, but this is one of those circuits where with those low aeros, Dave, and as we mentioned during qualifying, the lap times are so close in difference that it's no surprise that you're not going to see overtake after overtake every lap, especially without there being any DRS.
Well, we had a lot of great overtakes occurring into the first chicane in stint 2, but now everybody's strategy is now they've laid their strategy out onto the table, and they're now going to have to fight with what they've got. And Journey Simičić has just extended his lead ever so slightly. He went a tenth quicker, so he's singing from the same hymn sheet I'm singing from. These prime tyres are just feeling bulletproof at the moment, and he's on low fuel, so holding steady at 3 seconds. I think he had 6 seconds in hand when this all began, maybe 5. But yeah, there's some fantastic battles further back down.
Yeah, Hoyer, Gosby, D'Alessandro is definitely one of them. Kish is still half a second behind Risto Capit. But this is, right, okay, Michi Hoyer's situation now is what I was talking about during the warm-up session regarding top speed. Michi Hoyer probably has a good enough top speed to overtake Gosby, but Gosby's got the slipstream from D'Alessandro, which means that Hoyer, it's much more difficult for him to have any kind of an opportunity. Is Daniel Kiss close enough? No, he's not. Yeah, so for the likes of Hoyer, this can become a very frustrating situation. In many respects, what he kind of needs to try and do is get as close to Gosby as he can, and then do something perfectly within the rules, get him out of position to break that slipstream that he's getting, to give him an opportunity to attack. The problem is, Dave, as you mentioned, Ascari is the key to turn 1 effectively. And it's from Ascari, or even before Ascari, that Gosby is getting that slipstream and the massive benefit. And I think Simičić has had a slower lap. The gap has come down by nearly 0.8 of a second.
Yeah, a 24.1 versus a 23.5. So yeah, Simičić didn't have a fantastic lap that time round. That was slower than what he has been doing. I think he must have made a slight error.
Okay, Gosby is a little bit further away from D'Alessandro on this occasion. If Hoyer has a good parabolica, this could be his opportunity. Gosby may just be within slipstream still. If he's not, Hoyer's going to pounce on him. He's gaining on him quite quickly. I think he's got the opportunity here. I don't think Gosby is really getting the slipstream.
Hoyer's got the run. He's got the run. Has he got enough? He's got to get alongside before they turn in, which he didn't quite manage. But Gosby outbraked himself slightly there. He knew the pressure he was under and did a massive late braking manoeuvre to defend. What is going to happen? Hoyer side by side. Hoyer will have the apex, but he's going to have to be bold under brakes because he won't have the optimum turn-in point. I don't think Gosby can do anything from there. I really don't. Fantastic move from Hoyer. Set it up on the main straight, executed it on the exit of the first Variante. Fabulous move from Hoyer to get him into a P4.
It was, and it just goes to show exactly what I was saying there as well. As soon as Gosby didn't have that slipstream, that was when Hoyer had his opportunity.
Yeah, that was a great call. I hadn't spotted that.
Okay, gap up at the front, about 2 seconds. This is getting a little bit scary now. 2 seconds with what, 2 laps to go, 3 laps to go?
That was fantastic racing between Hoyer and Gosby then.
I don't think it's finished though as well, you know, because Gosby is now right behind Hoyer, and Hoyer's got nobody to get slipstream off.
With 50 of 53 laps completed, Hoyer's going to want to have the exit of his life out of Parabolica. Gosby is sticking to the back of him like a fighter plane in a dogfight, wanting to suck every little bit of dirty air out of that car, and Gosby is hauling him in. But he's pulled back out, and it was like he hit a wall of air. As soon as Gosby pulled back out of the slipstream, he was slammed by that airflow.
Daniel Kish is still stuck behind Risto Capit. I remember saying that, I think, in Hungary and in Spa with a different driver involved, but it was Daniel Kish and somebody else. But yeah, still stuck, unfortunately, behind Risto Capit. Mohammed Patel gap now down to what, 1.8? Yeah, 1.8 seconds. Obviously, it's varying a bit through the corners, but that gap is definitely coming down up at the front.
And visually, from Mohammed Patel, he can see Journey just ahead of him now. I mean, he's close enough to chase now. Before he was chasing a theory, a time gap. Now he's got a car in front of him that he can, set his hooks into, and hopefully drag himself up. Of course, the thing is, he's got to focus on the track and his driving, and not get too target focused, or in fact his lap times can degrade.
Not only that,
0.25 last time round.
Sorry, Dave. Not only that. Patel is catching up to Simoncic. We can see that that's happening. But D'Alessandro's catching up to Mohammed Patel. So even if Patel catches Simoncic, if he doesn't make a move, as Yerny Simoncic is telling me he's starting the last lap of the race, if Patel doesn't get past Simoncic, he could come under pressure from D'Alessandro. But our top three are now into the last lap of the race. And it's crucial.
We have final lap of 53 laps, and we have 5 cars within 5 seconds, and this is just stunning racing.
Daniel Kish still stuck behind Risto Capit. They've just gone through turns 1 and 2. And as you said,
Dave, did you just say Daniel Kish is stuck behind Risto Capit?
Yep.
Okay.
Has he got past him?
I was just checking that.
No, yeah, he's still there. He's still stuck.
I wanted to check it was you. I thought it was a loop, a recording loop.
No, it was me. It was me. Okay, the gap is now definitely under 1 second. There's not many corners left to go. Mohammed Patel, as Dave said, can clearly see Yerny Simoncic. He's going to be potentially within DRS range. He's pushing it hard into Ascari.
Except there's no DRS.
Yep, there is no DRS. There's only one straight, one corner and one short run.
And he's down to 0.8 of a second at the moment, the gap between the two. Journey's got to hang on. He's got to get this exit right out of Parabolica. Mo is going to be hoping for him to get a little bit of oversteer and lose a bit of drive, but Yerny Simoncic does not lose any drive. And Yerny Simoncic takes out round 12 of the Formula Sim Racing, brought to you by Thrustmaster World Championship event. Mohammed Patel brings in a very, very strong second place. Michele D'Alessandro, a very well-earned podium in P3.
Sorry, Dave. Valchiavi is going to try and attack Van Delft around the final corner, around the Parabolica. They're very, very close. Van Delft going defensive. Valchiavi catching up to him, but not enough. Sorry to cut you off there, Dave.
That was close. That was a tenth of a second between the two of them over the line. So Hoyer with a fabulous P4. Martin Gosby, brilliant race to have brought it home in 5th place despite that contact and the loss of the front wing end plate in an unfortunate contact. Risto Capit, P6 after some thrilling racing. Daniel Kiss, P7. Felix Van Delft crosses the line in 8th place, earning World Championship points, which is a great honour for an ace driver to achieve. Timo Valchiavi earning valuable points for Born to Win in 9th. And James Sadler, the last points-paying position in 10th place. Sander Callis, after a bit of rough and tumble, elbows out action with Camille Liswa into the first chicane, brings it home in 11th, but stepping up from ace, that's nothing to be ashamed of. John Eric Saxon's in 12th. Dominic Wasienko in 13th place, and Arif Roslan crosses the line in 14th place with a gap of 1 minute and 9 seconds. Nobody lapped in that event, which we wouldn't expect at Monza in World Championship. So
I've got to say, I mean, that was one hell. I mean, coming into the last few laps, I mean, I've no idea whether who's going to win. I mean, in recent races or in races this season, we've seen situations like that kind of build, and then perhaps there's an incident between two drivers and it kind of spoils the party. But a great race we've had there. Yeah, there was some collisions and some incidents throughout the race, but that's all part of racing. I will say I feel sorry for the best beard on the grid, Martin Gosby, because I'm sure he'll be saying to his teammates now, oh, if only I hadn't lost that bit of front end plate, it could have been completely different. I do feel for him, pole position and the opportunity was there, but unfortunately he doesn't make it to the podium today. Simčić, absolutely fantastic, and hopefully we'll be able to get the podium sitters in for a bit of a chat as well. But Simčić was fantastic.
I've posted the message.
Okay, good stuff. Mohammed Patel, it was a tough race for him. He was under a lot of pressure throughout of it, but his quality showed, being able to close that gap in at the end. But I gotta say, massive congratulations to Michele D'Alessandro, a bit of a silent assassin throughout that race, because he was so close at the end that had anybody made one tiny error ahead of him, he'd have had them. At the same time, I mean, Risto Capit, entertaining, really entertaining to watch. But the best part about that was definitely the difference of driving style saw from him today. Instead of it being sort of down at the fairground, but a bumper cars maybe, and please don't take offence from this, the driving I saw from him today was fantastic. And coping with Daniel
I was also very, very impressed with what I saw. And Michele D'Alessandro with third place, he's matched his best ever result in World Championship, certainly this season, and that gives him a set now of 3 podiums for this particular season.
Yeah. Well, I mean, absolutely great stuff. Absolutely great stuff. Hopefully, Yerny's going to be coming and joining us for a quick chat as well. I can see that Michele and Mohammed Patel are with us as well, but it would be nice to get a quick word from Yerny Simčić first. He is just waiting to come and join us now. But Dave, seeing as we're on the spot a little bit and the drivers are sat there, if you were going to give a driver of the day to anybody, who would you give it to?
Well, that's a hard one. I saw so many outstanding drives today. If I'm allowed to mention a couple of people that impressed me, Gosby, with fighting back from adversity after that sort of entanglement and loss of a bit of his front wing. Hoyer, I think Hoyer's last stint was mighty. But I think I've got to hand it to Yerny Simčić, because Yerny needed to win this one to have any chance of closing up the World Championship title fight with Mo. And he won it, with a subtly nuanced strategy that a few of us would have anticipated, by running a bit longer on the option and then a shorter stint on the prime. Because if he'd added 2 or 3 more laps to that prime stint, what do you think would have happened? I think Mohammed Patel would have had him.
Possibly. Well, I know I've got a few questions to ask Yerny Simčić, and he has joined us now. So, Yerny, congratulations, taking the victory. You've made me look a little bit stupid, because I said anybody that does option prime is going to fail. Because it never worked in Ace yesterday. So thank you very much for that one. But I've got one sort of semi-important question for you. Did James not give you the message to make your 7th gear look a little bit longer? Because it looked like early on, when you had an opportunity in the slipstream, you hit the limiter and then dropped off a little bit. Was that a bit of panic stations moment?
Well, first, thank you. But about 7th gear, well, James actually told me to maybe increase 7th gear, but for me it was just perfect, and I wouldn't make it any longer, because I would then lose just a little bit of RPM and maybe 1 or 2 kilometers per hour in clean air on the main straight. So yeah.
See, I kind of knew what the answer might be there, but one of the reasons I've asked you that is because me and Dave have talked on commentary about the compromise the driver makes when it comes to that 7th gear, and whether you sacrifice a little bit of straight line speed for a slipstream speed and things like that. But a fantastic choice on your gear ratio anyway, and a fantastic strategy. What made you decide to go option rather than option prime, which is what quite a lot of the grid did?
Well, basically, I just went, the default option for me was option prime, because it just worked very well in some previous races. And also I knew that I might have less fuel than others, so I need a good undercut. And I needed every 10th, because I didn't know how much exactly the pit stop would take. I hadn't done the homework very well, timing the stops, and also the timing in the game was a little bit bugged, so I didn't know exactly, and I just said that option prime would be better, and would, yeah. Also, I guess Risto would have passed me in the second stint, in the same way like Fran Lopez passed Michele in Spa, if I remember correctly. So I just felt safer doing option at the start.
Well, it worked for you, and something I didn't mention during the broadcast was your limited practice time. I mean, usually you do plenty of practice. For this race, it was a very different situation because I believe you're married now, yes?
Yep.
Congratulations on that. And congratulations for finding a woman that is perfectly happy to let you come racing on a weekend. But your amount of practice that you've had has been pretty much, I think before today, it was what, about 50, 60 laps?
Well, last week I had 2 or 3 shorter evening practices, and the setup didn't quite feel nice. But yeah, my wonderful wife let me practice yesterday evening when we just came home from some traveling, and I've just found some 3-4 little tweaks to the setup which made the car handle quite well. And to be honest, I didn't expect to be that much on pace, and in qualifying I was really worried, but then, well, I think others screwed up their laps more than I have, and somehow I got P2. And then in the race, I really don't know, somehow I got much faster than others, so I don't know what
Well,
happened.
some might say maybe it was everyone's wedding present to you, but somehow I don't think that was the answer. Massive congratulations to you, Yerny. Dave, any questions you want to ask Yerny?
Well, yeah, I wanted to say congratulations on firstly on your marriage. Well done, and best of luck for the future. And also congratulations on a superb drive. And I just found it incredibly intriguing strategically, because you were there sort of hammer and tongs with Risto Caput, but you went 1 lap longer than him on the first stint, a couple of laps longer than him on the second stint, and that just left you with a fairly light car for your prime stint. And the difference it made, because there were 5 drivers within 5 seconds of you at the end, and it was just, I think, timing those pit stops to protect. And I'm sorry I haven't asked you a question. I'm just effusing about all this stuff. It was just, I thought, magnificent strategic work to run the car light on the primes by taking those longer option stints. So I don't know how much thought you put into that, but wow, it kept you out the front. And I figured if your prime stint was 2 or 3 laps longer at the end, you would have been in a world of pain with Mohammed Patel on your gearbox, I think. So it was timed to perfection. Congratulations and well done on your 3rd win this season.
Yeah, well, in the practice, options were clearly faster through all the stint. But, well, in the race, somehow I got like 23.2 on primes. I have no idea where it came from, but yeah, nothing more to add.
Well done, and it certainly makes it very interesting for the viewers, because you've now won 3 on the trot, and you've just closed up ever so slightly the championship fight, because you were 50 points apart, and now I think it must be 43 if my maths are correct, because Mohammed Patel has obviously managed to chase you down for second place. So sets it up for a fantastic final 4 races.
I need someone to finish between me and him to have any chance.
Well, exactly. I think I said it at the time. For a moment there was someone between the two of you. I think it was Martin Gosby, and I was thinking that the Journey's probably cheering on Martin Gosby, saying, "Go, Martin!"
Yeah, I was.
Keep Mohammed behind you.
Well, absolutely fantastic stuff. Well done, Yerny, on taking the victory in second place, and a very close second place as well. Mohammed Patel looked, from the sidelines, it looked like potentially a mixed emotions race, that one. Perhaps not the best to qualifying, although, I mean, I'll say to all of the drivers, the slipstream work in qualifying, some of it was very poetic. It was beautifully worked, although Gosby did his lap without any of it, just to let you know. But yeah, Mohammed, it looked like the race itself was a bit of an up and down one, stuck in a little bit of traffic. Strategy always works well for you. You seem to get that spot on. it didn't look like you was actually going to be able to catch Yerny at the end, but those last 5-6 laps must have been an absolute buzz for you trying to hunt him down.
Not really, because I knew, well, basically for the final stint of the race, I was struggling with the shadows in turn one. So for some stupid reason, I was just braking so early. So I was like losing a tenth or so in sector one all the time. So it like kind of stopped me from catching Yerne. And then when I saw Yerne lost a second or like half a second right at the end of the race, I just asked Petter or if he was lifting, if he knew he was lifting. And then once he said no, then I knew that he's just baiting me in. So I kind of like lived in the hope, but without any expectation to beat him. Qualifying wise, I have to say huge thanks to Danny. He was unlucky because he had contact on one of his out laps, which kind of lost his momentum. And so instead of fighting with us for the podium spots, he was a few places down. But because of him, although I messed up qualifying myself, I was third on the grid. It was a shame I didn't get second because then I could have held Yerne off. And to be honest, that entire first stint was a bit confusing because there were some phases of the race where within those first 15-20 laps where Yerne, I think, to be honest, it was all three of us, myself, Yerne, and Martin. We all had like a couple of laps where we struggled with the balance of the car for 2 laps and the gaps. So I would go close up to 1.6 seconds to Martin, then go back to 2, and then Yerne would get down to 0.7 to me, and then it would extend back to 1.1. So it was all yo-yoing around. But yes, it was an interesting race to drive, a bit frustrating to be so close, yet so far.
Very, very well put. I've only got one more question. I'll hand over to Dave because I'm sure he's got some questions for you. In the latter stages of the race, obviously there was a great battle like with yourself and Gosby and how that was going to play out. But then, obviously, it got to sort of the final stint of the race, and you had you had Gosby behind you and D'Alessandro. As soon as those two started fighting each other, was that a relief? Did that free you up then to just focus on going forwards and not worry about what was happening behind?
Yes, but I kind of knew the gap to Yerne. Like I had to eat him in the first couple of laps before his primes switched on. I was a bit worried about Martin behind me because I knew that if I made a small mistake, he would be all over me. Whereas Michele, being a sister teammate, wouldn't really try anything silly, knowing what position I'm in. My problem actually was, I don't know if it was caught on camera or not, but I had, I don't know, in the middle to latter phase of the prime stint, I put a wheel on the curb or Astra on the exit of Parabolica and I nearly walled it and lost
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was on board for that, Mo, and I did comment about that. I'm not sure if it was picked up on the broadcast.
Yeah, so other than that one moment where I like had heart in the mouth of like, what the hell did I just do? But that also like kind of got, you know, that extra second that I lost there stopped any real chance of Yerne. And then Risto overtook me. I didn't want to defend him against him because I knew he was relatively light on fuel, but the extra half a second or so that you lose there combined just makes the job a little bit harder. And to be fair, Yerne did an awesome strategy because if I was on pole, I would have done the same thing. Or if I was P1 rather, I would have done the same thing. So he just stopped me from getting, I would have done opposite tire to him basically. So he stopped me from getting an advantage. So hats off to him.
Well, Mo, I think you've done such a fantastic analysis of the race that it leaves us with very little work to do in terms of asking you questions. But yeah, it was a thriller. And at least, you know, from third in qualifying, you moved forward into second and didn't have that person between you and Journey that Journey would have really liked to have.
Yes.
And did Martin Gosby's pace surprise you at all? He was looking pretty darn strong here.
Not really, because I think his pace was pretty similar to mine. There was little phases of the race where basically, you know, he made a mistake at the start of his prime stint, and that gave me some breathing room then. But it was, like I said before, it was quite yo-yo. So in the first stint, myself and Yerne pulled out a small advantage over him after I think he had some front wing damage. And then in the second stint, I had a gap before I made the mistake. So without that mistake, I wouldn't have to consider Martin at the pit stops. I was a bit wary, a bit worried in the pit stop because I knew the first up on options, he would flying. But I didn't have to defend, so I knew he would be there, and if I didn't make a mistake, I shouldn't be overtaken.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very, very much. Congratulations on second place, and we'll look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks at Singapore.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff there from Mohammed Patel. And as Dave said, congratulations on the second place. Definitely gave us plenty of entertainment. And Dave, I'm going to let you question Michele D'Alessandro, mainly because he's not been on the podium before, and I need to read what's going to be on the screen about him. So all I'll say to Michele D'Alessandro is, I am so pleased for you, my friend. You've seen some fantastic drives from you this season with a little bit of bad luck. Today was an absolutely brilliant drive, and I was hoping that you'd be able to catch up to Mohammed Patel, even if a bit of team play would have come into it to not really let you attack him too much. But at the same time, an absolutely fantastic drive. Well done, Dave. Grill him.
Dave, was that you leaving it to me?
Kind of, yeah. I was just giving Sergi plenty of time to find his image.
Michele, congratulations. How did it feel for you? I mean, that was such a tight race. There were so many of you within just a few seconds, and you did not put a foot wrong. How was the race from where you sat?
The thing is, first thing is that this season I'm having problem in the race. I'm doing small mistakes that cost me the entire race, like Manikou or Australia or stuff like that. So this season I'm feeling always a bit of pressure. But today I felt really good with the setup. But the first thing, like Patel said, the first 20 laps, the car was a bit, I don't know, at least for me, it was a bit weird. I didn't feel really confident, and that cost me a few seconds from the guy in front. But from the second part of the prime stint, the car was really good. I started to catch Patel and Martin and Simoncic also a bit, and I felt really good. So I'm quite happy about the race today. Another race that I completed without mistakes. It's always good for this season after the bad first part.
And you pulled off a fantastic overtake on Martin Gosby. I think it was into the first chicane, the Premier Variante. Would you have made that attack on somebody who wasn't, that you couldn't trust as much as you could perhaps trust Martin, because the two of you were side by side through that whole chicane, and both without really any contact to speak of, maybe a tiny bit of wheel banging on the exit? Would you be confident to make a move like that with every driver on the grid?
Not all of them, but for sure the guy in front, like Simoncic, Patel, Keys, are all able to fight, and Martin as well are able to fight to base each other. And I already apologized with him for the small contact and exit, but I was full lock and I couldn't do really anything. So, but luckily he didn't have any damage, and well, it was fun, but it was mainly because he did 2 laps in a row, a mistake in Ascari, and that gave me a chance to be within half a second. And I didn't fail Parabolica. He did a small mistake, and then gave me the only chance I had to overtake a car this race. I took it, and well, I'm quite happy about the podium. And this time I won't get a penalty for cuts. So. Because Spa, it was by 1 millimeter, I got 5. So this time I only have 3. So podium this time.
Well, a wonderful drive, and congratulations on your podium, Michele. Well deserved, and you fought hard and fast for the entire race in some pretty esteemed company. When you look there, you fought off guys like Martin Gosby and Michi Hoyer, kept them off the podium and kept it for yourself. So you should be very proud of your drive. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff. I mean, it's been an amazing race today. It's been amazing to commentate on you guys going absolutely full throttle around the fantastic Monza circuit. And hopefully we're going to see similar again when we head off to the next race in 2 weeks' time, I believe, Dave.
13th of October. Which is indeed in 2 weeks' time, 13th of October, and this time major contrast from one of the fastest and shortest races in terms of duration to one of the slowest and longest, from Monza to Singapore. So everybody needs to be well rested for that one.
That they do. And we do have last year's Singapore race winner. Yerny, don't want to commentator's curse you, but do you think you can replicate last year's result?
That's the plan.
That's the plan. And I think on that, we may sort of bring this to an end, unless you got anything else to add, Dave.
Actually, no, thank you all.
Sorry, I have got something else to add. For anyone that hasn't seen it yet, Sim News TV have been doing pre-race shows regarding the Formula Sim Racing World Championship. You should be able to find links to their videos on the Formula Sim Racing forums. And if you are interested in getting involved in Formula Sim Racing, check out the links in the descriptions. Come and take a look at the forums. Make sure you're up to speed on the rules for racing and for being able to apply. But also the car is there available to download for free, and also it's available on Steam now as well, so make sure you do that. Finally, I'll just say thank you very much to our broadcaster today, good old Steve Harris in the broadcaster booth. He's going to hate me for giving him that nickname, but yeah, Sergi, if I call you that, I'll get your name right. So thank you for stepping in and doing the broadcast for us today. I've been Dave Palin, joined by David O'Reilly in the commentary box. Make sure you come and join us in 2 weeks' time for the Formula Sim Racing's Singapore Grand Prix.